we are like everyone can see, so that's not an issue. Good evening, Mrityunjay, and all the other students who are there present and joining it. So we are going to reflect upon the last sub segment we were left with, that was related to integrity, efficiency, and corruption. So when we are building upon the same, we all can connect with this: integrity, efficiency, and corruption. All right. So, with respect to this, um, please tell the name of NCRTs. Couldn't find it without the title of the book. Oh, Standard 11th Psychology NCRT. All right. So, you can find it on the NCRT website. So, I mean, other than that, you can just read the basic material, the notes that I'm sharing with all of you. I'll share the attitude notes also. I'll try to get it uploaded by tomorrow, because now it's like by the time I'll be getting through with the session, it'll be 9, and disturbing the tech team will not be fair. So, we'll see to it that attitude material is also uploaded and you all are able to read that. So, after finishing the civil services values notes, please go through the attitude notes also. All right. So, and you also go through the bullet points. Once you finish civil services values notes, see how the bullet points are created so that you get inspired by it. All right. Now, as we are substantiating further, and okay, could you discuss answer writing? Yes, after this, Anjali, if you see, I have already created something for all of you that is pertaining to like this component of what is it called, case studies. See, we have like already uploaded this, how to solve the case studies. So once today we are able to complete this chapter, it depends on your pace, then we will be taking up how to like solve the case studies. Okay, as I had promised that we will be taking up the moment we finish this chapter. But if everyone is focused, the more like distracted the nature of questions, I'll respond to it. So same will be the possibility of like stretching up the segment. Now, as I was discussing about integrity, efficiency, and corruption, and discussing the correlation between it. So in the previous session, I was discussing integrity and efficiency and corruption. In the process of substantiating efficiency and corruption, I had like is my notes sufficient? My notes will be sufficient to create your basics for sure. All you need to do is add some more examples, some more applications. That's it. That's it. Keep thinking. Whatever is happening around you, always keep thinking and adding it to the possibility. For example, the civil servant is committing suicide. So, what are the pressing conditions because of which a person is committing suicide? And how to strengthen the emotional intelligence of the officers to surmount this problem like happening in the system, right? Similarly, if like anything, any incident that's happening in and around you pertaining to civil servants, which is discussed, you can read that again. There is a very interesting segment in Indian Express, as far as I can recall. There is a very interesting segment pertaining to ethics on in Indian Express. You can go through that as well. The soft copy of Indian Express discusses about it, so you can read that as well. It's really good, qualitatively very good. So yes, the IPS officer from Tamil Nadu committed suicide. That's also there. So um, okay, Pyle, you can always zoom. Okay, you can always zoom. Presently, when we are speaking of it, I the screen size is just this much. How will I write very teeny tiny? There's a limitation to what I can write. Don't worry. All right. Now, so in the previous session, I was discussing about the possibility associated with integrity, efficiency, and corruption. So, as I was discussing it, I shared that, like, let us say a PWD officer is there, a loan amount of 1 crore is sanctioned, the person is utilizing 70 lakh in the project, 30 is left, 10 lakh the person siphons the fund, 20 lakh the person returns, saying that, oh, I was the person who could save it. Otherwise, the center thought that it will take 1 CR to complete the project. So I deserve the 10 lakh rupees. So in such a situation, what can happen is that, like I asked that, is the person, if the person is efficient and the person is corrupt, is it going to take the system further? Can we accept this possibility that a person is highly efficient, so a bit of corruption is okay? To this, I said that no, never ever accept corruption in any form. Because for the simple reason, like corruption has, when we are talking about it, efficiency and corruption, maybe the person is efficient right now, but over the time period, if there is no like space for, we can consider no space for any corrupt action, in that situation, a person can get demotivated to perform. So today's efficiency may not sustain, may not continue in the face of corruption. I said it has a domino effect. It has a demonstration effect. So a domino effect means the size of corruption keeps growing, more like a snowballing effect, right? Then I said that it has a demonstration effect. The juniors can get negatively inspired. It destroys the work culture. And when the work culture gets affected, the overall efficiency of the office tends to get affected. Simultaneously, when I was substantiating the same, I also shared this, that, like, corruption is a very addictive, right? And when it is addictive, an individual can get negatively inspired to get into or indulge into like a corrupt behavior, right? Correctly spoken, Rita. Sorry, Ria Mandal. And then we can also see that in the long run, corruption has never fetched any benefit. I gave you the example of the British East India Company also previously. Warren Hastings, Robert Clive undergoing the trial. Robert Clive, in fact, committed suicide as well, right? So, and they were doing all that so that it is like minor incentive for the British officials who are traveling all the way to India, and they are getting affected by the hostile weather because it was too hot, sultry, mosquitoes were there, people were getting malaria. So they get motivated to work here because they can make an extra buck. But it's just that in the long run, it backfired, because of which they came up with a lot of amendments, legal amendments, which we all can think of when we are talking about the possibility of the Pitts India Act. We can think of 1873 Regulations Act. So you can just connect with all those possibilities. Then, so this was done in the previous session. I just helped you to recall so that when I discuss the next segment, you are able to connect. So when we are talking about integrity, efficiency, and corruption, now we can reflect upon efficiency and integrity. So efficiency and integrity, how are the two related when we are speaking of it? So can there be, if we are talking about it, can there be efficiency without integrity? Without integrity. Can there be efficiency without integrity if we are speaking of it? So you just have to say no. Without integrity, corruption would creep in. Corruption would creep in. Now, another question which can be further raised associated with this given subsegment is integrity the only condition, the only condition for efficiency? Is integrity the only condition for efficiency? To which we all can say that no, it is necessary but not the only condition. It is necessary but not the only condition for efficiency. Okay, so integrity is what? Integrity, as I say, is like salt in soup. It is necessary. Okay, it is fairly necessary. If it is not there, then definitely it will be like bland. It's like salt in soup. Okay, so it will be bland and it will not taste better. So it's like necessary with respect to it. So probably you can make this diagram in the exam. NPA is non-performing asset. I'll be explaining all these terms so no one will get restless. Ha ha ha. What is this? How is this? All that. So you can just remain little calm as I explain it. So this is integrity, and this is intelligence, energy, technical expertise. Right. So as we are discussing about it, okay, all the students who have joined in a few minutes back, good evening and welcome. Now, so with respect to this, as we are substantiating integrity with respect to intelligence, energy, and technical expertise, we can connect it with the possibility, first and foremost, as I said, it can be associated with NPA. What is non performing asset when we are talking about it? So, the non performing asset is a person who has high level of, like, we can consider integrity, but the person has, when it comes to energy, or we can consider intelligence, or when we speak of, like, we can say the possibility pertaining to what is unpaid loan, Abhishek. No, I'm not talking about, like, the non performing asset from the loan perspective. I'm talking it about individual perspective. Okay, you will realize what I imply to say soon. So, tech expertise, when all these dimensions are low. Okay. So, one meaning can have multiple manifestations, no? So, you'll learn that. So, when we are talking about like non performing asset, which kind of individuals can be treated as non performing asset? So, these individuals have high level of integrity, like very honest, very upright, but they don't know how to do work. So, I mean, we don't need people who are carrying their honesty like medals up their sleeve and like boasting it before the department that, oh, we are such honest and upright officers. Fine, that's good. That's basic prerequisite. But how about the nature of work? Are you an expert to handle the work? Are you capable to take care of the work? If you are handling that, very well. But if you are struggling with the nature of performance of the work, then you are not really helpful for the system. So when we are talking about non-performing performance asset for the system, non-performing assets for the system, these are the individuals, these are the bureaucrats when we speak of it. Okay, so bureaucrats category 1 is NPA when we speak of it, non-performing asset. These individuals having high level of integrity, but energy, intelligence, all that is quite low. Second, we can think of useless, like there was this TV series Khaki. I think many of you must have watched it. So, in that, you all can connect with that character who is an IPS officer and his boss. The role is being performed by, like, Ashutosh Rana. So, Ashutosh Rana is like, is it all right to call people NPA and reducing them to their productivity alone? No, not really, Ishita. But if you are in the system, you should be performing. Just you cannot like take salary and sit idly. Suppose if I'm a teacher, then I should be also like responsible for teaching qualitatively. I mean, just because I'm honest and upright, that is not something which should encourage the possibility of I taking the salary, but compromising with the quality of work that I should cater to. A doctor is claiming, oh, I'm a very honest doctor. I never take extra fees. I never keep a patient in the hospital, even for an extra day. I discharge as soon as the person is like well, or if I'm unable to cure the person, I immediately disown and I discharge. Please try to understand, Ishita. You'll be like, all these things are fine, but the prime role of a doctor is to cure. The expertise and intelligence that you need to have as a doctor, that is your prime purpose. If you lack that, okay, then it's not going to really carry you forward, or your prime purpose as a professional is lost. So do you think it's a neoliberal attitude, or is it something which is required? Yes, the examiner can understand the moment you write these keywords, like Sushmit, the moment you are writing bureaucrats on the top, point one, NPA, non performing assets for the system, and then people having high level of integrity, low level of energy, intelligence, technical expertise to perform. That's why if you see, off late, you all can see that a lot of, we can say, a voluntary retirement is encouraged by the system, especially after 2016. People who are not performing well and are like 50 above, the system is constantly coercing them to take voluntary retirement. Are you aware of that, Ishita? To improve the productivity, to increase the efficiency at workplace. So that's not neoliberal. That's to make the environment competent and healthily competent. I mean, why should a person, just because the person has got selected as a bureaucrat, keep sitting and taking the salary when the person is not performing in an up to mark manner? Right? Now, so intelligence, expertise, or energy is nothing but efficiency. No, I did not say that. In other ways, we can consider they are aspects associated with efficiency. Okay, so that's also, you can connect it with that given possibility, right? So when we are, Ishita, is it clear? I mean, like I'm speaking to you and you raised a question. I'm explaining that. So I'm still like waiting for your like insight. Former DGP in UP was retired voluntarily. Yes, so very true. That also did happen with respect to it. So now, with respect to the component of, when we are connecting it with the component of useless, we all can understand that a useless is like, let's say, a person whose integrity level is also low, and we can consider energy, intelligence, technical expertise is also low. So I was giving you the example of khaki, and there we all can say that we can also like connect the given dimensions. Yes, Mukteshwar Chaube associated with Ashutosh Rana's character. So there is a laptop that is provided to him as he gets promoted, and he is a person who's into, like, just like buttering his seniors, being extra polite to them, being extra nice to the media, but not really working all the time, just laming around and fooling around. And in that process, the person has the tendency to take a lot of credit. He keeps telling his junior that, oh, Babu, when you are doing some good work, why don't you recall me? And you never call me up and you never ask advices and stuff. So when we are speaking of the this specific character who is getting a laptop, and he's like, why have you like replaced my huge computer with this little tiny like computer? When I have been promoted, I should be, isn't it that I should be getting a bigger monitor, bigger computer? Why have I been provided with such a thin and like such a tiny like we can say instrument to work? So then very sheepishly the technical expert says that, sir, this is far more efficient, far more smarter, far more we can say effective compared to what that monitor was supposed to do. That was the old computer, this is the new version. So after that, what happened is that he's like, oh, is it really better, this thin little thing, and this small instrument, is it really capable? So like, yes, sir. Now imagine this guy, on and off he has to give instructions pertaining to crime branch, on and off he has to give, like, instructions related to the cyber cell. And the guy is not really, yes, for parallel call listening he had to provide the approval, and he was unable to understand that given possibility. So like when we are speaking of this given dimension pertaining to khaki, you all can just see that the role played by Ashutosh Rana of a police officer is that of we can consider a useless bureaucrat, who is low on the level of integrity and low on the level of energy, intelligence, and technical expertise as well. So then comes the third category as we are discussing this diagram, and we can see that is associated with clever evil. So when we are talking about the component of clever evil, character of Chacha who used to sit on chai shop and motivate aspirants in Sandeep Bhaiya. Oh, I've not watched other episodes, really didn't get time. So some people are laughing because they can connect good. Okay. So bureaucrats should have high skills and high values to run the system. Yes, so very true. So very true. So will it be all right giving examples from web series and movies? Perfectly all right. If you're able to explain it in a sentence, perfectly all right. anything which is based on docu series, real life examples, you can substantiate it. It's perfectly fine if you are like quoting real life examples, whether it's a docu series or it is a movie or it is like anything as such. So the thing is that even in essay for that matter, okay, all you need to do is you should be capable to articulate the language associated with it. All right. So now when we are substantiating the components pertaining to yes, Khaki is based on the book Bihar Diaries. So when we are talking about it related to clever evil, let us see what is a clever evil. So a clever evil is a person whose integrity level is low, but when it comes to energy, intelligence, and technical expertise, that is very high. So all those people who commit cyber frauds, all those individuals who are like, associated with all technical type of crimes, you can connect them with clever evil. All those doctors who are like associated with taking out kidney and other organs, they can be associated with it. You can think of like lawyers who are aware that their client is a massive criminal and yet they choose to fight for the client. That is also a kind of thing. Yes, the officers who are able to facilitate scams, you can associate them with this given possibility as we are discussing this dimension, right? So when we are talking about, yeah, like IPS Mani Patidar, okay, so clever person will try to find loopholes. So very true. And you can also think, yes, a lot of officers have spied for the enemy nation. So very true, Abhinav. I mean, see, even if we are not talking about bureaucrats in general, whether it is Mehul Choksi or whether it is Nirav Modi or whether it is, we can consider like this Kingfisher Airlines owner, what was his name? All of you know his name, right? So when we are talking about all these people, yes, Vijay Malia. So all these people, when we are talking about them, they are clever evil. They are people who are very articulate, they are very smart, they know how to get their work done, but they have very low level of integrity. I was like surprised to see that this fellow Nirav Modi, when his interview took place in London, one day he was like crossing the street and coincidentally like this person journalist recognized him and caught him over and started asking questions, and he kept denying everything and he kept saying, speak to my lawyer, speak to my lawyer, speak to my lawyer. And he did not choose to run away, but at the same time you could see that he was very coolly like ducking the question, and that malicious intent to slip out of the situation was very much evident on his face. And at that time he was wearing an ostrich leather jacket, which was so expensive that the cost of that jacket was around 9 lakh rupees. 8.5 to 9 lakh rupees was the jacket that he was wearing. So you can just connect with this given dimension also when we are speaking of the possibility of low integrity but high level of intelligence, whereby these individuals, they perform such high rate of crime and high rate of, we can say, frauds. Okay. Fourth, when we talk about this given diagram, we can think of the people who are ideal for the system. So when we are speaking of ideal, so ideal are individuals who have high level of integrity as well as high level of like energy, intelligence, technical expertise. And these individuals, they contribute massively to the system. Like you can think of Varghese Kurian, you can think of we can consider E. Sridharan, APJ Abdul Kalam. You can think of these individuals like MS Swaminathan. So all these individuals, they have contributed massively and created a turning point of, we can consider, what India had been experiencing. Right. So, with respect to them, they have not only contributed meaningfully, but they have shaped the destiny or the way India is going to behave, experience the things in the future that articulates for all of us. So that is something which all of you can connect with the component of ideal. So these individuals, they shape the possibility of, we can say, the civil servants. So did I explain all the term once? Did I explain? No, you never explained those terms earlier. Okay. Yes, you can explain this by drawing the table. You can do that in the exam by drawing the table, and that actually cuts down a lot of space and it eases the possibility to explain. I can further substantiate my thought process with the quotation of Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett, he made this statement. If anyone is curious who's Warren Buffett, will Google search about this personality and know about his traits, like associated with, um, we can say, running a business. So employers usually look for three qualities, in future employees, and that is, you can see, integrity, intelligence, and energy. Integrity. So integrity, intelligence, and energy, for which he said that if you don't have if you don't have the first one, the first one the other two, what are the other two? So intelligence and energy. Okay, so intelligence, energy. So the other two work against the company, work against the company. So what shall happen? A person will be, like, getting into the possibility of raising like, we can consider some kind of fraudulent activity in the company, like getting into some kind of menacing or fraudulent act in the company, and that's something which we all can consider, right? So moderate integrity and moderate intelligence, energy are type of which one? Moderate, I never said moderate. That's not my term. You need high level of integrity at all times. Okay. And high level of intelligence will increase your efficiency. So I never used the term moderate per se. Okay. So clever evil, Harshad Mehta. Yeah, that will work. That will work. Okay. So when we are speaking of it, this given dimension pertaining to integrity connected with like efficiency, then we all can substantiate these given possibilities. Now comes the last subsegment pertaining to it when we are talking about this given dimension. So we can talk about integrity and corruption. So under the component of integrity and corruption, right, like integrity, efficiency, corruption. So this okay. So with respect to this, you can first explain what is corruption. So corruption is what? It is moral impurity, or another term which you can use for corruption is lack of moral reasoning. Lack of moral reasoning, right? Again, with respect to this, when we are talking about, we can think of what is integrity. So integrity, when we speak of, we can connect it with like moral reasoning plus, we can consider intellectual reasoning. Intellectual reasoning. Now connect the two. When we are speaking of corruption, this is lack of moral reasoning, as you can see. And what is integrity? It is moral reasoning. So corruption, when we compare it with integrity, we all can see that a loss of integrity is leading to corruption. It is just a reverse of moral reasoning is what corruption all about when we speak of it, right? So we can see that why does a person go corrupt? So why does a person become corrupt when we are talking about normal situation? So why does a person become corrupt? So on an average, you can see shortcuts for quick growth, and that you can connect it with hedonism, right? Then you can also Associated with, we can consider consumerism, materialism. So, consumerism, materialism, all this can encourage the possibility of making compromises. And when you are making compromises due to this, making compromises, and when you are making compromises due to this, what will happen? The integrity shall be lost. So, integrity is lost. And when there is loss of integrity, we all can see the possibility of everything going topsy turvy. So there is, we can connect with like confusion over values. And when there is confusion over values, what happens? So internal locus of control, it transfers to external locus of control. So transfers to external locus of control, right? And that is something which leads to corruption, right? So when there is confusion, that's why I said never ever experience ethical dilemma. A person experience ethical dilemma only when the foundational values of civil services are not well established. Okay, so confusion over values leads to poor level of internal locus of control, and that transfers into external locus of control. Fine. So, what are the efforts made by the government to fix the issue of corruption and take care of integrity? So, you can see there is Civil Services Day is celebrated. We can also see the possibility of, like, let us say, integrity gets rewarded on this day. So, integrity is rewarded. We can also see there is a separate column. There is a separate column. There is a separate column for integrity in annual performance. In annual performance appraisal reports. Appraisal reports. Another segment which you can add is like integrity clause. Integrity clause for high level appointments. For high level appointments. Right. So all these segments have been incorporated by the government of India to, like, create a balance between integrity and corruption. How to do away with corruption and how to instill greater integrity when we are speaking of it. Doesn't rewarding integrity go against what we discussed in efficiency and corruption? How? I cannot understand that. So because if you're rewarding, you're setting an example for the larger society, for other juniors, for other officers. That's, look, this officer has been given a meritorious medal for being a person of integrity, and these are the proofs. These are the seniors who have, like, worked on this given dimension. Without integrity, person will lead to erosion of the system. We have already discussed that, Mithun, through the diagrams. You will think of it. Why people pay for truth? Sometimes life, despite being despite being it is natural, it should be easy. I mean, like, see, people pay for truth. I did not say they are paid. I said they are rewarded. Reward does not mean payment. Reward means like getting a medal for recognition or certificate for recognition. Are you getting it? First thing. Second thing, what you are raising, that why people can should be paid for integrity, I completely talk about this given possibility. Integrity and corruption cannot go together. Yes, Kavana, they cannot go together. So we can think of this given possibility associated with, those individuals who are, like, getting some kind of possibility, which, how many examples can we give for a topic? One to two on an average, right? If it is written illustration, there is a question, then three examples should be more than enough, because you have to explain also. So person goes corrupt to hide previous corruption practice. So many things parallelly happen, right? So when we are talking about this, doing right things in all situation is possible, or if there are numbers are very less, you can always be upright in all situations. It's a choice of moral courage as well. So confusion over values, where is the point? Confusion over values, so that's not there. Okay, this one you are saying that when your civil services values are not intact, then you experience an ethical dilemma. What is the right thing to do and what is the wrong thing to do? Should I take care of my family and the well being of my loved ones, or should I take care of my job? So there's confusion over values. So your internal locus of control, it shifts to external locus of control, and then it is easy to dissuade an officer to become corrupt. There was this dialogue in the movie Newton, which I really liked. So this fellow Newton, when he is very upright as an officer, his senior says this thing to him, that Newton ji, don't try to brag too much about you being upright. Isn't that the basic quality that is expected from every officer in the system? Something which is expected, if you are boasting or bragging about it, isn't it too meaningless? Are you getting it? So that is what. So when he says that Newton, you don't brag about your honesty, that is something which all of you need to understand. Discuss the dynamics and correlation between integrity, efficiency, and corruption. Okay, that's how Labdhi question can be created. Or a question like, does high level of integrity, does high level of efficiency ensure high level of integrity? Question mark. How does corruption impact the situation, or how does corruption impact a bureaucrat uh, uh, with the other two qualities, or and impact the other two qualities, uh, explain with suitable illustrations, something like that. Possibilities can be created. If a person has integrity, energy, and intelligence, but those who control the system or organization are corrupt, then how does the above person maintain his values? Jadav, uh, all these possibilities, despite being challenges in the system, let me share this with you, that good people are still there. The system is functional and running because at least 20% of the people are highly honest and capable in the system. So do not underestimate the system by thinking that anyone and everyone is corrupt. That will backfire, because you will find a lot of seniors who are really upright and they have done real good job selflessly. Okay, so that's the thing. Which civil servant receives high appraisal, one working in a state or the one working in center? When we are speaking of it, and we are talking about it with respect to the appraisal reports, here we are talking about center per se. Everything boils down to priorities. If morals and ethical beliefs isn't the priority, then yes, exactly, then it will be corruption that will take place, definitely. So if efficiency and intelligence, intelligent person have low integrity, yes, they are a massive threat to the society. Now, with respect to this, as we are moving ahead, if suppose you have to give suggestion, then think of a lot of things. Like there can be integrity surveys in 5 years. The ICC World Cup, before it happened, there was an app that was launched, the Integrity app, which was supposed to report upon those, we can say, cricketers who were like indulging in any kind of corrupt act. So that could have been reported. In the similar manner, something can be developed by the government for the bureaucrats. Again, IMF has a hotline, like integrity hotline for handling the issues pertaining to staff misconduct. So a similar situation can be created whereby you can tap the possibility of who is performing how, and the grievance redressal being taken care of accordingly. So that's how you can reflect upon the given situation when you are talking about it, right? Now, as we move ahead, first and foremost, with respect to the next component, that is dedication. Prior to that, there's something which I have given you as a homework, which all of you can reflect upon and study. So, how is integrity different from honesty? I had requested this in the previous session itself, that pad lena, but still, if you have yet not read, you still have time. So please read honesty with respect to integrity, how it's different. How to inculcate it? So through model learning, reward and punishment, sensitivity training, code of ethics, and code of conduct. These are the four ways in which you can inculcate integrity. Model learning, so that honest officer becomes a role model for all. Everyone tends to get, we can consider, inspired by them. So what is the pen color that you suggest, Nirmal? I mean, if the screen is dark in shade, it is yellow, which will stand out by underlining the white. Okay, so that's the only thing that we can do, and everyone is comfortable with it. So I can't really help. Now, with respect to reward and punishment, as I told you that on Civil Services Day, on the whiteboard it is not visible. I never wrote with yellow. I wrote with blue. When did you see me writing with yellow? Tell me something. Were you even following the class? When did I write with yellow on a whiteboard? Tell me. People come up with sometimes such interesting suggestions. Okay, anyway, so with respect to this, when we are further substantiating it, uh, you can also see that sensitivity training that can also be done to bring the officials capable enough to look into the issues pertaining to grievance redressal. You can also look into this code of ethics and code of conduct. So this also brings in transparency in all the departments, and it is like we can consider in a way a life and blood, which is providing a lot of possibilities associated with evaluation and critical reflection. Now comes the component of dedication towards public service. When we are reflecting upon dedication towards public service, what is it? So tell me, what is the difference between dedication and commitment? Yes, people. Dedication and commitment. What is the difference? Well, Mrityunjay, sensitivity training, like we can consider the police are provided sensitivity training. No, you must have seen that the police are provided the sensitivity training so that they are nice to the juniors and they are nice to the common staff and especially to aged and women and people belonging to vulnerable sections. So that's what you can connect with this. And yes, Sarashti, we can say that carrot and stick policy is like reward and punishment mechanism. Okay, carrot and stick, accordingly you're moving. Okay, yes. So when we are comparing and connecting dedication with like commitment, as all of you are saying, that dedication is when you work extra for the cause. Commitment can be short term, dedication is long term. All right. So commitment may dedication comes from within. All right, dedication, doing work, wholehearted, diligence, perseverance. All right. So lot of you are experimenting with the word, and a lot of you are arriving at the right insight as well. So when we are talking about commitment and dedication, you can consider dedication is what? It is passion and love plus commitment equals to dedication. Right? When we are discussing about it. Like we can consider dedication is the highest form of highest form of commitment, where you pour in all your energy, all your time, all like your entire self, your entire being into the fulfillment of the target in a dedicated manner. That is what we can consider. And it also is associated with perseverance. And what is perseverance? So, perseverance is, we can consider the work one does after one is tired of doing all the hard work, all the hard work. So highest form of commitment is dedication. Passion plus love plus commitment is dedication. Dedication also incorporates perseverance. So perseverance is walking that extra mile. And when we speak of walking that extra mile, that means that suppose you are committed to study for 9 hours and very dutifully you are completing the 9 hours study, that is committed. So I'm saying that X is a committed student, Y is a committed student. But like let us say, when you are dedicated 24/7, you are living the process. So while brushing also you are thinking, while bathing also you are thinking, you are revising the articles. When you are having the lunch or dinner, you are seeing the articles and you are mentally revising it. So at all times you are dedicating yourself wholeheartedly to achieve the given target. All right. So perseverance, sorry, persevere, I have written perseverance, my bad. When I write fast, then such issues can happen. So perseverance, when we speak of it, this is what we all can reflect upon. Okay, so the extra mile that you're ready to go. at all times. Okay, so a bureaucrat, when we are speaking of it, a bureaucrat has to take care of maintenance function in the system. So maintenance function, and has to take care of development function. And under the development function, we all can see that this one needs some self initiative. And self initiative, we can see extra effort will be needed. Extra effort needed. So here is the space where we can talk of the possibility of, we can say, dedication. So like I was giving you the example of Armstrong Palmer, like constructing 100-kilometer road. Here in urban areas, we see that if there is a pothole on the road in the society, within the society, no one is ready to even devote basic 2,000 or 5,000 rupee to fix that street. No one is really like bothered or doesn't care that let me fix this given problem. So that is because of lack of, we can consider, dedication. And here is a boy who's fixing like 100 kilometers road, this officer fixing 100 kilometers road. So maintenance function is like you have to indulge in policy implementation, or like a scheme implementation that is associated with maintenance function. Okay, so that's like implementation of implementation of law and order, government schemes, initiatives. That's what. But the moment we are speaking of like bureaucracy indulging in development function, that is something which is associated with, we can consider initiative. Okay, so that is associated with the self initiative, and extra effort is needed. For example, there is this guy Avnish. Okay, so Avnish Sharan, he is an IPS officer, sorry, IAS officer in Chhattisgarh. And despite being an IS officer, so like when once I was giving this example, probably in the morning batch pertaining to merit, when a student said that, ma'am, is academic merit really required for getting selected? And I said, no, not really, because academic merit is associated with achievement test. That's for past. You are going to prepare for a future possibility, so that is associated with aptitude test. Remember, we have discussed that. So aptitude test, so I said that you need a basic aptitude to perform as an officer. If you have the aptitude, you shall pull through. So Avnish, he had 46%. Can you beat it? 46% in his 12th standard. And in graduation also, he had a second division, like not like great marks coming with flying colors, but still when he prepared for the exam, he developed the knack or aptitude for a civil servant. That was proved in his mains paper, in his interview, and because of which he got selected as a proper IAS officer. And yes, then he comes up with the, we can say, initiative associated with the bike ambulance initiative, which is more like a jugaad, whereby he combined the bike with the like a pull cart, which is like on which you can see the vegetable vendors and fruit vendors sell their wares. So he just connected the like that pull cart with the bike, and after attaching it, he covered it, he made a shed out of it. And that is something which you can consider, that when someone tries to find solution within the limited resources, within the limited possibilities, that can happen only when you have that self motive, that we can say selfless motive to serve. Similarly, I was reading about this IS officer from Bangalore. He had geography optional in his UPSC preparation, and this guy, despite having geography, having this geography optional, he developed that knack to understand the importance of the geography and the kind of initiatives that are needed. And then what he took up was like, after a certain specific time period, like he revived more than 13 drying lakes of Bangalore, because Bangalore doesn't have a river flowing and it's on a height. So how to get access to water? And that's why the traditionally the Maharajas created a lot of lakes, and because of incessant construction, a lot of lakes were captured, and they were like, the water was scooped out and they were prepared for construction of buildings. So this guy, he really like worked on this given possibility. So Okay, Satya, I'm not aware of this given possibility as you're suggesting that he is corrupt now. I'm really not posted about that. So, typography error in maintenance, yes. Again, we can consider this given dimension with respect to who else? JP, I can give. Yeah, Jay Prakash. So again, JP was also posted in Chhattisgarh, and I remember that when he got posted, 3 years later, like a few of his juniors, they visited over there, and when okay, bike ambulance is very helpful in Naxal hit areas. Yes, yes, that's there. And that too with the limitation of resources. Imagine the kind of intervention it would be causing. So I really appreciate that. Now, so as I was discussing about this given possibility pertaining to, we can say, the dimension associated with the maintenance function, and as we are talking about this development function, we can see a lot of basic interventions are created by bureaucrats, which shapes the possibility of qualitative lifestyle, qualitative intervention that people experience, right? So you can think of that, and development function can come only when you are motivated to serve, like really, really motivated to serve, and then only you can come up with those efficient solutions. And beyond bureaucracy also, you can see, the as yesterday I gave you the example, the PM of Bhutan, other than working on the working days, on weekends he goes and serves in the hospital because he's also trained as a doctor. So there he goes and practices as a doctor. So all these possibilities can be given, all right, when we are talking about it. So dedication, yes, civil services values, Jagbandhu, when you're reflecting upon it, you can find the values. Yes, the examples and insights which I am creating may be shared differently. That's why I have also provided you some material, the handout. Did you read it, Jagbandhu? Did you go through the notes that was posted online, some 17 odd pages related to values for civil servants? Okay. Now, so as we are reflecting upon this given dimension, you can, suppose, I mean, see how the segment gets affected. Suppose if you're a dedicated officer and the minister says that you are not understanding, you're not following my orders, and you are not easing the cause of, let's say, creating this kind of corruption. So, whatever the minister has requested you to do, and suppose you are quiet, and the minister threatens that if you do not get that work done, the person can transfer in you in an area where it is hard to find even clean drinking water. Now, see the difference between a dedicated officer and a non dedicated officer. So, a dedicated officer will be like, wow, I'm getting an opportunity to reach out to those people who are not even having access to clean drinking water, and I'm getting an opportunity to bring about change in their lives, maybe to facilitate some kind of qualitative access to basic resource like water that should be reaching out to everyone. So, that is something which all of you can connect with the given possibility, right? So that's how you can associate with this given content, that either you see it as an opportunity that, wow, I'll be able to reach out to such Indians also who after 70 years of independence are struggling to have access to clean and safe drinking water. And when you're thinking of this given possibility, you're able to build the basics associated with the same. All right. So that's what you can consider. Dedicated corrupt officer, meanwhile, clean water business viable. Okay. So yes, exactly. Dedicated officer, we will create access to clean water. And Kivika, corrupt official will not try to monetize the situation, because that's something which will not be possible. So maybe in the process, the person will try to monetize by charging extra for the plant, okay, and the possibility of creating it. The president of Rwanda in weekend participates in cleaning the city by doing it with common people. Yes, that's very true. You know, genuine efforts really count. I still remember when Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was started, then the prime minister, he actually, it was somewhere around Varanasi that I remember that that video was there initially. I mean, I'm talking about 2014, 15. So 14, it was October. And I still remember that he took a spade and he started like, digging with the spade, and that was quite a sizable stretch that he kept digging. He did not stop. He did not do it for like 1 meter or 4 meters or something. He kept doing it for quite sizable stretch. So I was like, wow. I mean, if the PM can set this kind of example by doing this work for minutes together, that is going to probably impact a lot of people in the nation. But what started as an aftermath was quite a mimicry, and a poor mimicry. You could see a lot of people, ministers, popularizing the issue of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So they used to take a jhadu, and then used to, like, their ads used to come, they used to spray some leaves, and then they used to like do some shush shush, and after doing that they used to use sanitizer, and all this was documented in the video. And people, like, they can sense genuinity. When you're really dedicated to create a change, people can sense that, and they participate and they follow the trail. But if you are faking it, I mean, howsoever illiterate people are, they are not fools, that they will not be able to understand the design. And that is something which is not going to bring about the change per se. All right. Is system corrupts individual, or individual corrupts system? Okay. It's not the individual who corrupts the system. First and foremost, we can say it's the environment which corrupts the individual. The environment in which probably the person is being born and brought up, and being raised. First, the corruption starts from there. Okay. And then the person gets exposed to the larger society. And if the larger society is also undergoing the same phenomena, it is easy to fall in the bandwagon. All right, Abhinav? So, ma'am, it means that we can find opportunities and threats with our dedication. So, very true. You find it as a threat, or you find it as an opportunity with the way you see, the glasses that you use to see the situation. So, that's what you can connect with. Sachin, the tech glitch is not at our end. It's perfectly fine. Kindly refresh. So, yes, power does corrupt people when we are talking about it. So, with respect to this, when we are talking about this issue of dedication, so for example, you can also think of Kiran Bedi, and you can think of her prison reforms, right? You can think of the possibility of scope of corruption when we are talking about it. So you need to understand, in India, it's a huge country. Crores and crores of funds keeps moving from here and there. So it is very easy for a person to, like, remain to go corrupt. It is considered that if a fish is living in the water, it is hard to say when the fish drank the water. Okay. So that's the condition with respect to corruption. Officers are surrounded by so many funds that it's very tough to say when the officer actually siphoned the fund. So you need to, like, reflect upon such situations. So, like, such possible, like, the problems of corruption can truly be removed with dedication. So optimum utilization of resources can also happen with dedication. Probably I should just move down. So challenges pertaining to corruption can be put to check with dedication. And also, you can say that optimum utilization of limited funds. Okay. Optimum utilization of limited funds is also possible with, we can consider, dedication. All right. So that's what you all can connect with. Now, along with this, so perseverance, how it is connected to dedication, you can just substantiate a lot of examples pertaining to this, right? And like, because I've already explained this perseverance, when you are like ready to work extra, when you are ready to, like, slog extra, that's something associated with perseverance. And that working an extra mile effortlessly, when you're like just seamlessly working, that is something which would lead to dedication. And as we all are understanding this bit further, we can connect it with the importance of nishkama karma. And as we are building upon the concept of nishkama karma, what can be created? So, what type of officer is expected from the previous slide? The officer who is following nishkama karma. That's what we are dealing with. Okay. So, what is nishkama karma, as the term goes? So, nishkama karma is when you are not expecting anything in return. So, we can consider no expectation for reward or recognition when the prime purpose is to focus, and the prime purpose is to focus on, when the prime purpose is to focus on the performance slash duty. So that is something which is associated with nishkama karma. So you're not expecting any reward or recognition. You cannot say you are not expecting any result. You want a positive result. In nishkama karma, you don't want things to go under the drain. You want some positive result. Okay, but that result is not for your own sake. No private intention or motive is there. So private intention or motive is not there when we are speaking of nishkama karma. Dedication is the next step of perseverance. Well, dedication is in the heart, perseverance is in the action. Okay, so, like Gita says, do your karma and don't think of the result. Well, that's the simplistic interpretation which everyone says. That Gita says that, like, work without any expectation. No, no, no. Experts of Gita know that it's not saying that work without expectation. It says work without any personal expectation or personal intention incorporated in it. You should not have any personal interest attached to it, but it's not that you are working towards like anything and everything randomly. The work that you are performing is associated with the larger goodness of the society. So public welfare, larger goodness, like overall, the sense of justice is definitely protected and propagated within it when we are talking about it. So the selfless deed is associated with you when we are talking about it. So, Anshika, the notes has been provided to you, values for civil servants. It seems you have not read it in last 3 days. Okay, now, so as we are discussing about it, we can, what happened? So we can reflect upon the same, memorize a list, okay? Prepare a list of individuals or bodies performing their duty, performing their duty with dedication, right? So you can think of a lot of names. You can think of like Homi Jahangir Bhabha. You can think of Sir APJ Abdul Kalam, right? So you can think of Vikram Sarabhai. You can think of MS Swaminathan. You can think of Verghese Kurian. You can think of Waterman of India, Rajendra Singh. You can think of Alex Paul Menon. You can think of Sam Manekshaw, Mother Teresa, Baba Amte, and think of Armstrong, Pame. You can think of Kiran Bedi, Kailash Satyarthi. I gave you the example of the PM of Bhutan, right? So keep adding to the list. Yes, you can think of Satish Dhawan. Yes, Nambi Narayanan. Though he did not get, like, qualitative time to perform, poor guy, his energy was all wasted when we are talking about the how much he could have done and what was there. Yes, you can think of Lal Bahadur Shastri. Okay, so you can take names which are non-controversial, apolitical, and the contribution has been established and recognized. Okay, so that's what. Remember to keep like apolitical names and non-controversial and eminent names. People know them. All right, so that's what you can keep working on the list per se when we are speaking of it. Then comes the last part, that is impartiality and non-partisanship when we are talking about it. Yes, you can think of M. Vishweshwaraya. Yes, the mountain man, you can talk about him also. So Dashrath Manjhi. So um, I asked a few students that are you reading the notes that was posted on Friday? So I mean the weekend has passed. So did you go through the notes? Did that happen to all of you? So all those who have yet not done it, please do so. That will build your basics and build your confidence, and your capability to understand and interpret the chapter will be easier. All right. Can we write the name of Bharat Ratna holders? Yes, you can. You can, but always ask yourself that the idea of service, how you are connecting with that given possibility, and then accordingly work on it. Yes, Sandeep Krishnan was also a very dedicated officer. You can think of him as well. Yes, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel as well, Amartya Sen, intellectually, yes. Okay, so there is this question: should impartial and being non partisan considered as indispensable qualities for making a successful civil servant? Discuss with illustration. So you can see examples are given a lot of weightage, and that's why I just gave you a list of examples. So try to memorize examples, and like quoting it in the class is easy. Create your own list, memorize the list, remember the examples and what these individuals have done, and try to remember the list when you're writing the answers in the exam. So when the question is saying that should impartiality and being non-partisan considered as indispensable qualities to make a successful civil servant, okay, so in that situation you can reflect upon the possibilities of what can be created per se. All right, here you can just recall that what are the segments that can be, like we can consider what is impartial, what is non-partisan, how it is an unavoidable quality you cannot ignore or you cannot work without it. So how it is an unavoidable quality and for a successful civil servant. So first, probably in the introduction you can talk about who is a uh, who is a successful civil servant, and how. Under the component of how, you recall the civil services values of impartiality and non-partisanship. Impartiality and non-partisanship. Recall this. After recalling this impartiality and non-partisanship, the notes that I have uploaded, Sai, that is a bullet point notes encouraging you how notes ought to be prepared. The notes pertaining to civil services values is quite exhaustive and it is in the language form. Okay. Now, so with yeah, In illustrations, you have to give real life examples, no imaginary examples, please. Okay, this is no essay that you can come up with imaginary examples. You have to talk about examples which prove that for success in civil services you need that. Okay, so impartiality and non-partisanship. Okay, so who is a successful civil servant and how? So a civil services values, when we speak of it, we can connect it with impartiality and non-partisanship. Okay, and in that all of us can connect with, we can connect with a lot of possibilities per se. So you can first explain that what is impartiality, what is non-partisanship. Okay, so what is it, and then discuss the impact of both on services, what kind of impact it will create, and keep giving examples in between. So examples, at least two or three, whatever you are able to create, and then you conclude that how. Okay, so conclusion should be how it adds value to civil services in the long run. That's how you're supposed to articulate the answer when you are substantiating it. All right. Now, so first and foremost, what is impartiality, and then what is non-partisanship when we are talking about it. So yes, T.N. Seshan also, you can think of him. His infamous dialogue that he was considered the Alsatian of the, constitution, and he said that I eat politicians for breakfast. So when he heard this dialogue related to he being called Alsatians, so Alsatian, that's a breed of dog. So no, non-partisanship is something which should not be biased with a political party. Yes, yes, yes. So let me start. Let me explain first and foremost. Can an individual extinct corruption from nation while being on the post? Extinct. Well, can an individual free a country from corruption completely while serving? That is the language, Aditi. Okay, good. I appreciate the attention, like intention of yours, that you have the intention to see that situation. Well, let me share this with you, Aditi. Human beings are corruptible by nature because they are political beings. So they are guided by narrow profiteering motive. But still, there is always a high chance to bring in transparency. And that's how in Transparency International Index, there are countries which have first rank or second rank or third rank, or there are countries where you can say that the system is working seamlessly with almost 90% transparency. So yes, there is always a great scope of improving upon the situation and living where people are like literally, which is in mythology when you call something Satyug. So it's not mere mythology. It is something that you can live. Satyug can be lived. It's only that majority of the individuals, first and foremost, they should be socialized well. They should be nourished well. Their value systems should be up to mark. Second thing is their basic needs and necessities ought to be fulfilled so that corruption of need never arises. Corruption of greed should be again further curtailed with a lot of, we can say, checks, balances, and punishments. So there are so many ways in a step bound manner that you can rectify with respect to this given situation. So due to power and material gain, everyone wants. Yes, yes, yes. So when we are speaking of this given dimension, we all can further talk about this given possibility. So, impartiality, when we are talking about it, I'm sorry for the yawning, but I slept quite well on Saturday and Sunday. Means Saturday night and like, what, sorry, Friday night and Saturday night. Yesterday night, again, I was busy with some work associated with this technical aspect of what I'm working on, and that sucked up my time. Slept quite late again, so that's why I really apologize because like my body is getting fatigued a bit. So because morning till night, I mean, like, this is the third session of the day, and I'm habituated to take two sessions, not three. Had it not been the mains time, I would have taken the liberty to ask for like maybe going for one session in a day, and that too when the day starts pretty early at 4:15. I have to get up to be here, and then the driver comes at 5, and there's so many things which have to be taken care of in like systematically. So if you're up at 4:15, this is the time when you're like, what is this? And when you have not slept well. But yes, you become better over the time period. Like my stamina level is better than last week. Last week I was just adjusting and adapting, and one more week to go. So that's how you like perform. But just bring justice to it. All the notes that has been provided, keep reading. Okay, glad to know, Priyanka, as you shared this insight, this fact, sorry. So due to lack of salaries and lack of facilities, officers go corrupt. Not just lack of salary and facility is enough for an officer, Shubham. The problem is associated with the lower class. With officers, it's like corruption of greed. Trust me, it is corruption of greed. Basic needs and a decent quality of life is definitely ensured. I'm saying that because I have a lot of people in my family who are officers, and they have never ever got into even taking a penny. I have friends who are like super upright. Like there have been another senior who is like such a dry, honest officer. He devotes, he's a single man, like almost 8 years senior to me, and he like devotes 80% of his salary in purchasing books for the vulnerable section children. Another friend of mine, he like he is also in revenue services, this one, and his wife, always urban born and brought up, and she like moved to a place which is between Jabalpur and what is that place, Bhopal. Between that area there is, they just moved to a rural hinterland, purchased a little land on loan, and then they constructed a school building, and she's committed to educate the farmers associated with like cropping patterns, and the children pertaining to basic habits associated with hygiene. So these people, I mean, I would say the kind of selfless service they are doing to the nation and to humanity, that's so inspiring. So thinking the possibility of like when you're talking about it, a lot of people we can consider are doing great work. It's all about personal choice. So basic needs are fulfilled, Shubham. It's about the greed aspect which encourages them. It's like the thing that I said, that if a fish is floating in the water and water is all around, like you cannot determine when the fish just scooped up a bit of water, just had a bit of water. That's the problem. So why they are becoming so greedy? Because of, I would say, um, before the preparation started, the kind of inspirations they had, that is something which impacts that. So less bureaucracy, less corruption. Yes, that is also promoted, Abhinav, that with privatization and a lot of outsourcing of work, corruption can be put to check. Well, in that situation, you know which kind of corruption comes into existence? Crony capitalism. What will a manager or assistant manager steal, right? In a private office. But yes, it is the boss who is making unethical advantages and unethical settlements, right? So then the scale of corruption and nature of corruption changes. So nowadays the government is taking bribe for votes openly by launching new schemes, offering money free of cost monthly. Himachal Pradesh, they continue these schemes in future too. I am not aware of this kind of scheme that Aditi you're suggesting. uh, Bribe of vote taking schemes offering money free of cost monthly. What kind of scheme are you talking about? Minimum corruption, maximum welfare. Yes, that's the intention. Very good, Jitu. That's what I imply to say. No, she did not imply freebies. That's what I could sense. And freebies is something which is incorporated as your basic concept when you are reflecting upon, we can say, empowerment of like a civil servant. Okay. And when you are talking about like the civil servant empowering the people through interventions in a economy which is ridden by, we can say, capitalism. So a lot of people will not be able to like catch up with I can say, a lot of people won't be able to catch up with the possibility pertaining to, the developmental quotient. And those people who will fall behind in the developmental quotient, they will need an extra cushion and extra support. And that's the role of a welfare state. And the welfare state provides that with the help of free or subsidized goods or services. So, free or subsidized goods or services is implicit as a role in the existence of a capitalist economy. India, though it is a mixed economy, but with more inclination to capitalist economy, the masses who won't be able to cope up with the level of competition and will keep falling behind, they need to be supported. That's in the basic theory of liberalism, if we speak of it. 18th century or 17th, 18th century, if we talk about the nascent stage of liberalism when it came after industrial revolution, that's what it incorporated, that there should be free market economy, laissez-faire, regulation free market. But then how about the poorer sections, how to cope up for them? So when Marx came, and Karl Marx's wave, the socialist wave, was too strong across the world as a counter response to take care of the labor issues and to see that rebellion is suppressed, the role of welfare state grew multifold. So the welfare state tries to support all the vulnerable sections who are falling behind. Okay, so that's the logic. So, can we use Plato's theory of family or a solution to reduce corruption? Um, that can also be used, but there are better and more profound solutions pertaining to corruption. So why not bring that in? But providing free electricity to the whole state is wrong. Yes, definitely. Definitely, as per people's income structures and as per the area where they belong to, that is something that should have been taken care of. And certain amount of subsidy could have been given, that up to 200 or 400 rupees electricity is free. Beyond that amount could have been charged. This was the initial initiative that was taken up by Delhi government. Later on, they also started charging, but still the electricity bill is relatively low. I mean, I'm these days practically not there at home, but even when I'm there, and I'm a very, I would say, a careful person, I don't waste electricity at all. So on an average, I pay 1600, 1700 rupee. But there are like households around my flat, like whom I see that they are paying 10,000 also as electricity bill. So can't help those who are like gassing up their, like we can say, this. Um, ACs, air conditioners, so all that possibility. Okay, so MP students are enjoying electricity for free. Congratulations. So that is not something which I'm talking about. What I imply to say, there should be subsidy for the poor to a certain level, keep the electricity free, but after that you can just come up with that. Death penalty about to be implemented by law for corruption. Oh my God, that's too extreme, Kaushik. That's too extreme to and too harsh to judge. If death penalty would have been become a cakewalk, that would have like damaged the situation. All right. So let us come up with this given dimension associated with impartiality and non-partisanship people. So impartiality, what do we see? So impartiality is when you are like motivated by fair mindedness. Okay, when you are motivated by the principle of justice, it is then that you are exercising impartiality. Similarly, political impartiality, when we are talking about it, the political impartiality is when you are like, serving equally well to all governments. You are not associated with any political persuasions per se. You don't exercise your own public opinion in influencing your tendency to serve any government which is there per se. Again, we can like reflect upon the possibility associated with a civil servant, connected to the, how a civil servant would act or retain the confidence of the ministers despite the ministers, like, changing. So like ministers will change because they are not the permanent executive. After every 5 years, after every election, they will keep changing. So that's the impact which all of you can connect with. If no giver, there will be no taker. Yes, that's also there. The bribe giving, bribe taking, that goes hand in hand. Can public should launch Me Too like program? Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of, we can say, grievance redressal initiatives that are taken up, and people also try to use social media to their cause. an IS officer can vote their representative. Yes, that is secret ballot, but you are not supposed to exercise that at all times. So that's also there. Okay. Yes, I do look different, Priyanka, for the simple reason that I was unable to get my hair dye done. So for past like almost 3 weeks, because first 2 week I was invested with my meditation, and last week I was invested with your batch. So I was really not getting time to take a rest and fix myself. So this weekend it was utilized, last like few hours for that matter. So, in capital punishment ethical? No, it is not. Capital punishment is not ethical, and that has not to be supported, because if we can't give life to people, we have no right to take it. There can be ways to regulate their behavior, to control and tame their behavior, but that's something which one has to take care of. Okay. So, yes, political impartiality, I shall be explaining once again, Baldev, so don't worry. Can we mention in answer about corrupt officers? No, you don't need to take their name. Okay, you can take the name of the act that has been done. Or recently an officer from XYZ district was arrested for this and this cause. So arrested, FIR being lodged, then you can write. Okay, without taking name, but you can take the designation and the area. Do not get into taking names necessarily of officers present and serving, because why to get into any kind of hero worshipping, or any kind of like putting stress over your memory. You already have to memorize so much. So just focus on area, and focus on the kind of the nature of corruption they did, so that it's because you see, the examiner is never asking you to remember negative examples. The examples that have been asked so far are associated with positive examples, if you actually notice that. It is all associated with the contribution that should have been made positively, or whether it is compassion, or whether it is a dedication, or whether it is like a political impartiality, all of them. The examiner is asking examples and illustrations related to positive situations, not negative. So don't be under the pressure. Always see the nature and intention of question to determine how to prepare. Where to find these many examples? Anurag, if you would have been alert in the class, I just discussed it few minutes back. If you remember, I was just discussing this given segment. Over here you can see a list was given, and I asked all of you to prepare this list more exhaustively. Anyway, so now, with respect to this, we can see that a civil servant has to act in a way which deserves to retain the confidence of ministers, that even if the governments change, they believe that the civil servant will comply to rules and regulation, and will continue to serve in a better manner. Okay, so will comply, we can consider in through any restriction. We can also see at the same time, the civil servant will undergo no obligation to defend the views of the ministers. If they have passed any kind of, we can say, law, or any kind of proposal they have made, the civil servant should not be under the pressure to explain why such a law is being executed, or why a new initiative has been started. But they must implement the decisions with utmost objectivity, impartiality, and to the best of their abilities. So, objectivity, when you are looking into the facts of the case, when you are looking into the merits of the case, right? So, impartiality, when you do not exercise any kind of biased behavior, any kind of prejudiced behavior, all right. Again, when we are speaking of it, so public impartiality should also be exercised. That is, what is public impartiality? So impartiality vis-a-vis public means that a civil servant carries out his or her responsibility in fair, just, objective, and equitable manner. So you can see there are keywords which keep reflecting themselves despite change in the concept. All you need to do is memorize these keywords and bring them on whenever you're writing the answer. So it is the value of merit, equality, justice, objectivity, equitable possibility. So that you have to just keep bringing all of it. All right. And these are also enshrined in the Constitution. So the civil servant, while performing the official work, the person, like whether it is procurement, recruitment, delivery, whatever, the person should be focused only on merit. On the basis of merit, the person ought to be judging the situation and arriving at a solution when we are speaking of it. So non-partisanship, now when we are discussing about what is non-partisanship, it is also called political neutrality. Okay, political neutrality. And in this you can see that a person is like doing the task, okay, doing the task without, mind the word, without fear or favor of any political party, without any fear or favor. And even if the person has strong faith in any political thought. So the values of administrator, when we are talking about it, so the person has a strong faith in the political thought, and the value of administrator will flow from constitution, not from philosophy. Okay, from constitution the values are flowing when we are speaking of it, and not from any political party per se. And the person is going to ensure that the person is going to serve equally well to the political executives, irrespective of whatever political changes take place or whatever political party comes to power. All right. So when we are speaking of it now, as all of you are able to understand this component of non-partisan, please remember the keywords: without any fear or favor, you are upholding the values of the constitution, irrespective of which political leader from whosoever, whichsoever political party the person climbs to power, you are committed to serve them equally. That's how you're supposed to like think about the possibility. Same words are used in objectivity. So true. That's what I'm telling you, Shiv. Like Shubham, the chapter is not tough. It is like a cakewalk. You just need to understand the core words and the synonyms of those words, what qualities are making those values happen. Once you understand it, and once you like write and practice, you can reproduce. That's what is needed. Okay, like 80% of your work is done the moment you understand the concept. Yes. Non-partisanship and political impartiality are not different, Harsh. They are one and the same. Okay. So difference between impartiality and non-partisanship can be discussed, but not non-partisanship and political impartiality. So now neutrality and non-partisanship, when we are talking about it, it's a narrow concept. Why? Because it is only related to public officials with respect to political executives. Mean how a bureaucrat is behaving with a politician. That is what is non-partisanship when we are speaking of it, or when we are talking about political neutrality. Whereas when we talk of impartiality, that is associated with anyone and everyone. It is like we can consider the public officials associated with their entire ecology, all kinds of systems, communities, people that the person is interacting with. It is not only associated with political executive, but also stakeholders, that is people. Okay. And non-partisanship is the attitude that you bear towards the politicians, whereas impartiality is associated with behavior in a particular situation, how you are behaving in general in a specific situation. All right. So when you're understanding this basic segment, why are they needed? Means why is impartiality and non-partisanship needed? So it is to bring credibility or trust in the system. It is to make the civil servant brave or gutsy. When you are correct, you are correct. And you, when you are respecting a policy, you are just respecting the policy on the basis of your capability. You are trying to like implement it. You are ensuring equality, justice, like you can see, ensuring morale, effectiveness, efficiency in the system, right? So you can see all the keywords. Simple. Gutsy means when you have courage. Okay, gutsy is courage. That if there is something wrong, you are able to like deny it. You are able to take the right things on. You have the courage to speak up for the right things. You are not scared to bring that on, that oh my god, what will people think, and or what if the politician takes an action in response to it. You're not like scared per se. Now how can we ensure, so how can we ensure civil services conduct rules 1964? You can think of All India Services Conduct Rule 1968. right? The details have been shared over here, so you can see that is also something which is ensuring how to maintain impartiality and non-partisanship. Again, Code of Ethics 1997. So that is also incorporating the component of non-partisanship, whereby you are respecting rule of law, human rights, objectivity, transparency, and impartiality in the services. Now, before we move to positive consequences of non-partisanship, we can further reflect upon the segments pertaining to it, like few more reflective insights when we are talking about it. First and foremost, my question, when we are talking about impartiality, let me add something over here. When we are talking about the concept of impartiality, so my question goes, should a civil servant always remain impartial? No, I purposefully have left it. Always remain impartial. And if not, you are saying no, then in what situations do you consider? All those people who are saying no. So, in what conditions the civil servant cannot be impartial? Like the person should treat everyone alike. All right. The PM is asking to do any corrupt act, then how to deny? You don't have to serve the PM. You have to serve the constitution, the rules and regulations of the state, the code of ethics. It is above all, it is above everything. Everyone falls under it, all the posts and designations. All right, Vivek. So you are supposed to obey the prime minister when the constitutional laws are being dictated, when rules and regulations in consonance with the, we can say, code of ethics and code of conduct is dedicated. It's not that the, like, prime minister is saying that go and just murder this person. Why would he say? I mean, like, but still, like, let us say if the person is saying, any person who's holding designation is encouraging you to do and go and do a personal crime, then that you are doing on the basis of your, we can say, uh, immaturity. There's nothing to do with the person who is like dictating you. The person is just a mere accomplice to the crime by encouraging you to behave negatively. Anyway, so as all of you are talking about it, affirmative action, very good, very good. Bhumika, welfare for vulnerable section, weaker sections to uplift for favoring weaker section. All right, so all those students who are responding this, I appreciate them. At the same time, when we are speaking of this, just a second. So oh नहीं, ये तो मेरा भाग रहा है तेरी. So how to see the comment section accordingly? Just a second. So no space, it should have been here. Okay, no worries, I'll just put it like this. Yeah, so affirmative action and welfare of the masses, caste related distinction. Okay, all right, all right. So vulnerable caste distinction, welfare. Okay, fine, good. So all those students who could come up with this given insight, great. I appreciate the clarity that you have. So you can see that no, only when the situations remain equal, situations remain equal, comma, impartiality should be exercised. Impartiality, oh, impartiality should be exercised. Impartiality should be exercised. All right. So you were going to discuss that. Okay. Again, you can talk about um, in equal circumstances. In equal circumstances, you are going to talk about impartiality, and in unequal circumstances, fairness. Fairness, justice has to be given importance. All right. So that's how you are, like all those students who are talking about like reservation and affirmative action. I appreciate that. And okay, so those students who can connect it with Q for senior citizens, disabled, young mothers, all of it can be incorporated. All right. So that's what. Again, you can also think of importance of impartiality. So that has also already been taken up when we are talking about it. So after the difference between the two, why it is needed. So importance of impartiality, we have already discussed credibility, trust to make the person gutsy, the to ensure equality and justice, and we can consider it with high morale and effectiveness and efficiency. So all that is there. In this, I can add one more. It makes the officer capable makes the officer capable to raise right questions. To raise right questions. You are like fearless. You know that if you are correct, so to raise right, appropriate word also you can write down. Appropriate. Just I missed P. To raise appropriate questions. All right. And that is something which will make you capable to deal with people's issues more effectively when we are talking about it. The second point in previous slide. Okay. Second point in previous slide. So second point is like in equal circumstances, you are exercising impartiality when everyone is equal. All men and women are standing and they are able bodied and young. There is no need for a separate queue. So that is equal situation, equal circumstance, be impartial. But if there are elderly people coming, pregnant women coming, or lactating mothers coming, then you need to create a separate queue. So in unequal circumstance, exercise fairness. Those who need privilege of some extra support, extra handle, some kind of extra cushion, in that situation, you will have to act upon this given possibility. So that's there. Okay. So you can connect with that given dimension. Yes, disabled people. So example of this slide, example is over here. Reservation and affirmative action. Queue for senior citizens, disabled young mothers. Reservation is also called affirmative action because you are making a meaningful intervention to ease the possibility of the person performing in a given situation. Yes, disabled is handicapped, Payal, right? Okay. Now, so all of you are able to connect with this. So I was discussing this, that it also makes a person, an officer, capable to raise right questions. You can also see that it also can lead to good governance. Good governance. And we can consider policy implementation. Policy implementation. Policy implementation. So, good governance and policy implementation. We can also connect with the possibility of equal distribution of resources, distribution of resources for the masses. So, you are able to promote the ideals of, like, we can say, equality, right? So, ideals of equality can be promoted in such a situation. When someone is asking what happens if breach of impartiality and non-partisanship happens, like just flip the points like a paranta, just go ahead with the negative aspects associated with all of these. As they are reversed, what kind of possibility is created per se. All right, so whenever like a breach is asked, just reverse the points. Probably I should note it down. If breach of impartiality and non-partisanship is asked, reverse the points. Reverse the points. Along with reversing the points, you can also think of the possibility of nepotism, favoritism. So nepotism, favoritism, Okay, along with the reversal of the points. That's what you can create. All right, this was a quotation by Karl Marx. He had said that, show me the man and I will show the rule. And with respect to this, that show me the man, I will show the rule, I can narrate the incident of this fellow Sri Rama Venkatraman. He was an IS officer in Kerala batch. So what happened that as an IS officer, he was one night he was drunk, like he had drinks at the friend's party. And then after that, what happened was that this person, he was getting back with his girlfriend and in the car, and by mistake he hit a pedestrian. The person was passing by and he was hit and he was killed on the spot. And this guy, Sriram Venkatraman, he, like, pushed his girlfriend ahead and he said that it's she who is responsible. Vijay, then you can just choose not to listen to the example. You always have the choice. All right. So then what happened that Sriram Venkatraman, this boy, because I think this is an effortless example, isn't it, Vijay? I mean, are you making an effort to listen to the example? Isn't it more like a narrative which I'm sharing with you? Okay. So, yes, you can also use Gandhiji's talisman as an example, Mithun, when you are talking about empathy and compassion being exercised. All right. So then what happened that this fellow, just let me complete this Sriram Venkatraman's issue that all of you will be like, shocked that how an IS officer can be so irresponsible. So he pushed his girlfriend in front of the police and he said that it's she who was driving. So he tried to shy away from the situation. The police was so intimidated that didn't even take his blood sample for next 24 hours. Anyway, after a week, when the issue caught up some furor, then his blood sample and all those formalities was done. But you know that it was a waste. There was a lot of complexity in the case, and he was blaming his girlfriend. There were other complex angles. There was no proof. So it is considered that maybe because of this lack of sufficient proof and benefit of doubt and complexity in the case, there's a fine possibility they can be released, in this given case. And there is also a possibility that maybe some fine or maybe some 5 6 months of imprisonment can happen, and that too when he is blaming his girlfriend. So whatever situation is, but what I imply to say is that this is yet another example of abuse of power, misuse of power, and not behaving with impartiality at all times. So that's why we can consider this, what Karl Marx had said, that show me the man and I will show you like the rule. Because the kind of the person is, the nature of the post and personality that the person holds, that is going to determine the nature of power that is exercised towards the masses, the kind of, we can say, power that is reaching out to the people, right? Chanakya said an administration without corruption is impossible. Yeah, I mean, like, though he was the person who was also talking about 40 types of corruption that can exist in a society, Abhinav. All right. So that's there. Okay, so let us take a break and let us be back with the component of non-partisanship as we are going to discuss about it. So we have discussed this part. So non-partisanship, we'll be starting with that. And with non-partisanship, we'll start with this positive consequences of non-partisanship. All right. So with respect to it, let's take a break pertaining to this. It is 8:49 and we will not 8, sorry, 6:49. I mean, like, that's my bad because I was just reading this. So it's 6:49 and let's take a 15 minutes break. Welcome back to all of you. Let us start with the remaining component associated with non-partisan behavior when we are speaking of the given subsegments, right? So, with respect to this positive consequences of non-partisan behavior, we all can connect it with, we can say, the trust and credibility, right? So, trust and credibility along with confidence in public office. So, confidence of public, so trust and credibility and confidence of public in non political character of a civil servant. So trust, credibility and confidence, that's what you create when you are non political like with respect to this given dimension. So yeah, that's something which you can connect with. Again, you can talk about, like, we can consider there is better policy, there is better policy implementation. So better policy implementation, when we speak of it, we can also connect it with the dimension of checks and balances. Checks and balances is maintained, right? Again, we can also talk about there is confidence, confidence of ministers belonging to any political party in the loyalty of their permanent civil servants. Again, we can also connect it with high morale. So high morale is created when it, like, we can say that transfer and posting, all of it is on the basis of merit. So transfer, posting, service conditions, service conditions are based on merit, based on merit rather than political considerations. Political considerations. Checks and balances we can consider is like, you are able to maintain power with also, we can say, a certain level of restriction. You are not unduly exercising that power, you are not exploiting the possibility of power as well. So there is a check and balance maintained, whereby you are abiding by the rule of law, at the same time you are also not, we can say, abusing it, right? So there is a balance of all the possibilities associated with it. In 2013, the Supreme Court had given clear, directives laid down before the center and the state government to set up a civil services board. They said that please set up a civil services board for the management and transfer, for the management of the postings and transfer of civil servants. Okay, so that no kind of verbal order is entertained, and there is a fixed tenure system. So, there is no pattern of exploiting a civil servant or a civil servant seeking any kind of favor, because mostly it is for transfer, posting, this and that, that they go into such kind of possibility, right? And when we are speaking of it, simultaneously, if we are talking about this given possibility, you can also think of breach of non-partisanship. If that is happening, what will happen? So there will be corrosion. Okay, corrosion of non-partisanship, which will lead to corruption, scams, right? So that's something which you can hyphenate. These are some factual sub-segments, according to me, which you can just elaborate with the name of scheme, like scams, etc. There are so many scams in India. You can just put an example and work it out. Yeah, ma'am, if we follow all these principles, how will become cabinet secretary? Who said that cabinet secretary Bhumika at all times is a corrupt person? There are a lot of officers who are very upright and honest, and they have served, and they have also, been able to climb up the power ladder. I think that all kinds of combinations work, and all kind of possibilities work, and different types of people make it to the power structure. So I mean, like, generalizing that, oh, those who are like at the higher levels of power, they might be very corrupt. That's like not realizing that all people are not corrupt. There are ideals, and the people who are reaching up to the top can also be really, like, we can say, people of higher mark of integrity and uprightness when we speak of it. All right. So again, you can think of, we can consider the nexus between civil servant and politician, which you also know is crony capitalism, right? So you can think of crony capitalism. You understand what is crony capitalism, all of you? Yeah. So politician, okay, and then there is this, we can consider criminalization of politics can also be connected to it, and then there is this bureaucrat, and we can consider that there is this businessman, and you can connect the game with all of them. So this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and further you can connect it like this, and then like this. So all this starts unfolding when we are speaking of it. So this specific segment, politician and businessman, this segment, maybe I should use another color to highlight it, but which color that will be visible, because it's like dark screen. So maybe white I'm using. So this is called crony capitalism. Okay. So I hope you can understand this. All right. Now, as we are further moving ahead with respect to this given concept, we'll also talk about, like, the possibility of caste lobbies can come up. Caste lobbies, like we can see that in Bihar there is kurmis, in like Andhra Pradesh we can see the khammas and reddis. So in UP you can see the Brahmin and the Kshatriya and the Yadava nexus. So all that caste lobbies also keeps cropping up. So we can also see the nexus, this specific nexus you can talk about, the nexus of this politician and criminal and bureaucrat. This nexus can also create a problem. Well, Himanshu, crony capitalism is a hand in glove relationship whereby the politician works in the favor of the businessman, and the businessman funds the, we can say, the private acts of the politician, including the elections. Got it? So that is like hand in glove relationship. Unethically, they both supporting each other, the cause of each other. So that's how. So yes, that can also be associated with supporting a specific religion. So you can also say communal politics can also be there. Okay. Suspension and transfer of honest officers. If breach of non-partisanship is happening, then suspension of upright officials. Okay. And that too, nowadays, politicians are doing it with free hand. So that's also raising a concern that how we can exercise fairness in service, right? So that's also there. So all this will lead to, we can say, anarchy, and it can lead to chaos, and we can also connect it with injustice. And along with injustice, we can also connect it with kleptocracy in a system. Kleptocracy means the rule of the thieves. Okay, you can think of erosion of efficiency, energy. So erosion of efficiency, energy in the system. There will be also, we can say, red tapeism in the system, right? Loss of trust and credibility. We have already reflected upon it. So loss of trust and credibility. So all these points you can substantiate when we are reflecting upon this. And now must be, I believe you must be feeling kind of confident that yes, it is doable. This is not a very tough area. Okay. Now, when we are talking about it, the final subsegment can be associated with the debate between neutral and like committed bureaucracy. Okay, red tapeism, Sahil, as you're asking, the term came into existence in 60s. What happened was that bureaucrats, when they had to delay the work or the file of any businessman or any commoner, they used to like seal the file with red lac. So melt the red lac and stamp it. So that was a mark for everyone in the office that till the time the money is not coming, the bribe is not coming for this file, the file should not be pushed. So the file used to get delayed, like, for months together. So to get the work pushed, people used to put some money, some weight of money, so that it is distributed at departmental level, and that's how the work got clearance. So this purposive delay of work was referred as red tapeism. It literally started with a red colored tape being like, a red colored like a cloth tape, you can consider, was tied and then sealed with the red seal, that is lac, with which bangles are also made. So that was how it started. And the term, which had a literal meaning, when the literal meaning got lost, somehow the phrasal expression or proverbial expression continued. That's how it remained, red tapeism. Hand in glove relation means when it is not evident to people, but some unethical handshake or unethical correlation, which is not loud or clear or known to the people, is being carried forward under the sheet. All right. So, understood that, Vivek? Second last point, previous slide explain. All right. So, second last point, kleptocracy, rule of the thieves. Right. And impose unnecessary rules and regulations. So true. Now, with respect to neutral and committed bureaucracy, when we are talking about it, so first question is it possible to have a neutral bureaucracy? Is it possible to have a neutral bureaucracy? Okay, when we are discussing about it, first and foremost, we need to understand what does the term neutrality imply and whether it is it associated with it. Klepto means someone who's associated with a thief. A thief is called klepto. The word is there. Maniac, when someone is obsessed with stealing. So such a person will start stealing spoons from the restaurant. Every restaurant the person is visiting. So that's kleptomaniac. I'm saying kleptocracy. Cracy means authority. Authority of the thieves. So kleptocracy. All right. Now, with respect to this, when we are talking about it, is it possible to have this dimension of neutral bureaucracy? We all can consider first and foremost what is neutrality all about. So neutrality, it means that a civil servant at all times remains neutral or impartial. In other words, let me use, so the civil servant remains impartial, okay, and non-partisan. So impartial and non-partisan throughout his career. Throughout his career. Right. That's something which all of us can connect with. Again, neutrality, when we are talking about it. So, what is the neutrality associated with? It is associated with political sterilization. Political sterilization means when a politician is dissociating from the politics of the day. Okay. Politician is dissociating from the politics of the day. So this term, political neutrality, this term was first used by the British. And when did they use? So 1919 in the, we can say, Montague-Chelmsford reforms. You can see the mention. Montague-Chelmsford reforms. And with respect to this Montague-Chelmsford reforms, we all can connect the insight that why. So it was because, the we can say the civil servants were Indians, and we can also say that they should not get they shouldn't get inspired or persuaded, shouldn't get inspired, or we can say persuaded, or we can say involved in the politics of the day. Politics of the day. And it was the civil servant who was running the show. Okay. So it is the civil servant who was managing governance, managing all forms of governance, all forms of governance. So it was not possible to rule. You all can understand. So it was not possible to rule if the civil servant was empathetic to the politicians of the day. Empathetic towards politicians. Why? Because that would have generated, we can say, it would have generated anti-British sentiment, right? Anti-British sentiment. So they had to like control this possibility, right? So they just wanted to neutralize the bureaucracy, and that's why like neutral bureaucracy was based on like we can say the bureaucratic dichotomy from politics. Okay, so we can consider, so neutral bureaucracy was based on, we can say, bureaucratic dichotomy. What is bureaucratic dichotomy? So this bureaucratic dichotomy is associated with, like we can understand who are like taking care of the policy formulation. So politicians were taking care of policy formulation, and what were bureaucrats associated with? So they were associated with policy implementation. So if it is very clear that the bureaucrats are the ones who would be taking care of policy implementation, then they were also, we can consider that they were also active in terms of what kind of policies ought to be formulated, because the one who's implementing is aware of the lacuna. So we'll also have the inspiration or the idea what kind of policies ought to come. Yes, like Subhash Chandra Bose resigned from ICS for politics. Even Aurobindo Ghosh, he had prepared for the exam, though he did not clear it. But you can see a lot of Indian officials were also making it lower rungs of bureaucracy, right? So if an officer is member of town planning committee and purchases land at a very cheaper rate, that's associated with favoritism, isn't it, Vivek? That's understood and implicit. So we all can understand that when it comes to bureaucrat associated with policy, maybe I should mention it here. So if when we talk of bureaucrat related to policy formulation, it's not that it's not there. Policy formulation is also there, because the policy is passed in a skeletal structure. So because the policy is in skeletal structure, who fills in the details? The bureaucrats, right? So the bureaucrats fill the details. So the bureaucrats fill the details of the policy. The bureaucrats fill the details of the policy. That's what all of us can understand. So rest of the law, when we are speaking of it, so rest of the law is substantiated by the bureaucrats. Substantiated by the bureaucrats. All right. So they have an active role. Hence, they have an active role. And in this situation, we can understand bureaucrats can't be neutral. And we can also connect it with the possibilities associated with what all they are doing. So on one hand, we all can see that when they are filling the details, when they are associated with the laws, this is called delegated legislation, right? So delegated legislation. So if we reflect upon the possibility, there is delegated legislation that they are associated with. Other than delegated legislation, we can also see that they are like also acting as judges. They are acting as judges. And here we can connect them with the adjudication or administrative tribunal, right? So administrative tribunals, right? And administrative tribunals, when we are talking about them, or any role of adjudication that they are carrying forward, for example, you can think of TRI, you can think of SEBI, right? So in all these bodies is the bureaucrats who are heading, right? Again, you can see that another segment which you can say is that you can't be neutral in welfare functions. Can't be neutral in welfare and development functions. You will have a political opinion, a socialist mode of empowerment or a capitalist mode of empowerment. Okay, So in developmental functions, so you can't be neutral in developmental functions. So neutrality will lead to status quoist approach. Neutrality would lead to status quoist approach, right? So we need to reflect upon that. So if you're a bureaucrat, okay, and your politician is asking you that, okay, Mr. So and so or Miss So and so, tell me what nature of foreign investment should come to India, what should be done. So you have to see the temperament of the government in power. If you see that the government in power is in socialist nature, so you will advise that let the funds come, but let it be utilized for justiciable functions, for distributive functions, for distributive resource generation and employment generation. And you'll be talking about something which is bringing in greater justice to the system. And when you are seeing that it's a capitalist government, you will be talking about the like government to profiteer more, to enhance or start more, we can say, heavy industries, or maybe something associated with we can say soft power. It can be associated with generating something pertaining to we can consider like a kind of heavy infrastructure like roads, okay, like metro, like maybe water purification plants. So you can start off with initiative that is like pro political parties agenda and ideology. So you don't have to remain silent, you cannot remain silent, you don't have that choice to remain silent. So you cannot remain neutral. That will be a status quoist approach. Status quoist means you are like completely running away from taking a standpoint, and you cannot say in bureaucracy that I cannot take a standpoint, okay. So please brief this section. Continuously writing, missing out the. So I'm explaining that, Asmita. I hope you are listening to me right now. You are not lost right now. Okay, what is bureaucratic dichotomy? Bureaucratic dichotomy, Himanshu, was a previous point which I had shared with you. Bureaucratic dichotomy means the bureaucrats have to work on, it is considered they have to work on policy implementation. But the truth is, they don't have to only work on policy implementation. You can see that the bureaucrats, they have to also work towards policy formulation. So that's the dichotomy. We think they are into policy formulation, but they also work towards policy, this policy formulation, because they provide the details to the skeletal structure of the policy. Along with the skeletal structure of the policy, these are the people who are substantiating a law that is passed. So it's not that bureaucrats are dissociated from the policy formulation role. At senior most level, they are also working on the details of the policies, or details of the law. So they have a pretty active role, and hence we cannot say that they can remain neutral. And this component of they supporting the policy formulation is associated with the term delegated legislation. All right, Harsh, I hope you can understand that. Yes, dichotomy is similar to paradox, contradiction. So policy designing is else is designing, policy implementation is someone else is implementing. But truth is, are bureaucrats only associated with policy implementation? Yes, BDO, SDM, DM, all these are associated with policy implementation. But is the senior most bureaucracy not connected to policy designing? Well, they are, as members of committees, as we can see, they are providing suggestions at different levels, as they are building the details of a given policy. So we cannot say that they are totally dissociated per se, and they are neutral, and any possibility or any point as such. Okay. So you cannot be neutral in welfare and development functions when we are speaking of it. Neutrality is something that will lead to status quoist approach. Again, like Niti Aayog chief secretary, for example, chief secretary of the state and center, as they are engaged in policy formulation. That way is also you can connect it. So we can, an officer can keep check on grade B level officers. Yeah, that's also there. Definitely an officer can keep a check over the team. But here we are also talking about something more, the functions of the judiciary, the functions associated with welfare, the functions where you have to take a standpoint. What is neutral? The topic is neutral bureaucracy. Neutral means you are not taking a standpoint. How can you not take a standpoint when you are getting into policy formulation? So in policy formulation, you are putting the detail, so you are taking a standpoint. That is how you are filling in the detail. Similarly, when we are talking about like other than delegated legislation, when you are into adjudication, you are taking a standpoint, so you are not neutral. When you are taking a standpoint in the process of being a part of the administrative tribunals or acting as judges. Similarly, you cannot remain neutral when there are welfare and developmental functions, because in welfare and developmental functions you need to have an opinion and advise the ministers accordingly. So when you are having an opinion and advising the ministers accordingly, I hope you are able to sense that you are taking a standpoint, right? I hope all of you are understanding this. Yeah, especially Aspita. Are you getting it now? Once again, read the skeletal structure line. So I have written that policy bureaucrats are related to policy formulation. And what is the reason? Because the policy is in a skeletal structure. The policy is in a raw structure where only the keywords and the basic framework is there. The details are filled by the bureaucrats. Got it? So rest of the law is substantiated by the bureaucrats if a law is passed. So that's what. Now, if cabinet committee makes a policy, that comes under delegated legislation or not? Oh well, Joginder, when we are talking about a cabinet committee making a policy, or we are talking about the details pertaining to other kinds of policy, whether associated with education or health, when we are talking about the details, the finer details at the implementable level, because who is implementing is the bureaucrats who are implementing. So when we are talking about, see, the core components, the core values, the core aspirations are filled by the team. But when it comes to like providing the, we can say, the details are something which is provided by the bureaucrats. Okay, the fine lines. Okay. So all of you are understanding this component of like committed bureaucracy, sorry, neutral bureaucracy. Now I have to give you an idea about committed bureaucracy as well. Now, before I move to like this dimension, probably I should add something more related to neutral bureaucracy, because you can get long questions associated with this area. So when we are talking about neutral bureaucracy, okay, so we can understand the biggest challenge, another subsegment, because you can see I have put like these ticks, you can see this, right? Okay, so there have been three and I'm putting the fourth one over here, as you can see. So neutral bureaucracy, the fourth segment is the biggest challenge of neutrality is its will leads to moral corruption. Moral corruption. So the will leads to moral corruption when we are speaking of it. So if neutrality is a value when we are speaking of it, okay. So if we consider neutrality to be a value, then we can consider then that how can we like criticize, okay. So how to criticize German officials, German officials following the orders of Hitler, following the orders of Hitler, right? That's one question that you can raise, okay. Or for that matter, the role of bureaucracy or bureaucrats during riots in India, during prolonged riots in India. Whenever there is a prolonged pattern of riots, can we deny that, like, The role of bureaucrats is not involved. There was this poet Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, who was associated with the Rajya Sabha, and he actually like made this statement. He made if you allow me, I'll just first say it in Hindi and then in English the translation. So the poetry went that समर शेष है नहीं पाप का, भागी केवल व्याध, जो तटस्थ है समय लिखेगा उनके भी अपराध. It implies that the war is still remaining, the war is still on. It's not only the person, the hunter, who will be punished, the one who has committed the sins who will be punished. It is also those people who have remained neutral in situations where they would have and they should have taken a standpoint. Those individuals who remained neutral, they also shall be paying a price for it. Okay, so that is also something which I can put forth. Okay, so is neutrality a value? When we are speaking of it, we can again connect the possibilities pertaining to it. I think, Vivek, you can do that much at home, right? You can put the numbers next to the points. You can always follow the points which I'm sharing, right? So when we are speaking of it, okay, once again, okay, so Sundaresh, the statement was that the war is still on, and it's not only the hunter who has committed the sins. Those people who have remained neutral, time shall write down even their sins, because they remained neutral when they had to take a standpoint. Okay, so that's something which we can again talk about. So these are examples when we are speaking of it. So these are like examples. Again, we can think of yet another example. When I'm talking about it, we can also think of the 1857 revolt. What was the role of masses? The masses remained neutral. Okay, so when masses remained neutral, that was one of the reasons why it was not a pan-Indian revolt. Pan-Indian revolt, because the masses, they felt that their condition is would be same under the British as that of the princely states. So seeking independence is not taking them anywhere. So the real motivation was not there. So they were neutral, and that was the reason that the intensity with which the revolt could have occurred, it did not magnify to that level, and it was crushed by the British accordingly when we speak of it. So neutrality can also be a problem in itself when we speak of it. Another example we can also give is from the English tradition. It says that darkest places in hell are reserved for those who remain neutral in the times of moral crisis. Okay, so that's also something which you can connect with. Again, I can quote Sage Kashyap. So Sage Kashyap had also like given a quotation in Mahabharata. He said that dharma is wounded when honest people okay, when honest people fail in their duty to speak up, fail fail in their duty to speak up. Okay, so neutrality is not a virtue in all situations, in all conditions. There have been officers in the past who have chosen not to remain neutral or indifferent to the situation, like Kanan Gopinathan. You can see that this IS officer, senior IS officer, he presented his resignation after being posted in Jammu and Kashmir when he was coerced to sign certain files which he did not want to fall party to. So he said that I'll choose to resign rather than be a party to this crime. I mean, and he said it like in public that I just chose to resign because I went into the system to serve, not to become a party to what already was happening. So after serving in the system for a couple of years, he quit. That is something which I'll not advise in any given scenario. That if situation is really terse, then you can think of that possibility. Otherwise, you have to fight it fit, and you can get inspired by seniors who have survived the system, yet they did not stop being good human beings, compassionate officers, serving the system with integrity and uprightness and with utmost levels of dedication. So you can always keep getting inspired by those given individuals. Okay, So again, the another segment which can be pinpointed as we are discussing about this possibility that biggest challenge of neutrality is its will. When we are talking about it, that is its will that leads to moral corruption. So another challenge which we all can uh, is it is comma it's क्यों लिख दिया है मैंने is and comma it will it will lead. Oh, I speak fast, that's why I write fast, and then my pen is unable to catch up with my speech, and that's why this little rough edge. Okay, another thing which you all can again reflect upon is the performance appraisal report. So performance appraisal, okay, of bureaucrats is done by politicians. So when the performance appraisal is done by politicians, then in that situation, you can see the problem of robotic sin. Robotic sin, that you remain neutral even when you are not appreciating a situation. So robotic sin is like going neutral in situations you don't approve of. Don't approve of. Okay. So robotic sin is performed by bureaucrats due to this pressure. What is the pressure? That, oh, my performance appraisal will be disturbed by the politician. So the concept of neutrality is something which you need to understand. It has been dismissed, it has been discarded by a lot of thinkers, we can say public administrators, a lot of, we can say, international experts also who are associated with developing countries per se. And for developing countries, neutrality is not the best form of governance that you need to follow at all times when we are talking about the given subsegment. Which part, Yogita, you will have to say? I know that my handwriting is not good, but I know that if you zoom it and you see it, you can understand it. Okay, so this is the fastest that I can write, and if I go very slow, I can write very beautifully. But then you will take the what I'm writing in one session, you will be taking it in two sessions, and I don't have the luxury of sessions. Please understand that. So, and not every time I write, you've seen that continually I give homework to read as well. So it's only when I'm explaining that I need to write keywords so that you understand that as I'm explaining and writing the key components. If you want, I can skip writing. I can just go on and on speaking. You people write it like at the comfort of your home, because now you have the access to the session. If you want that, I can do that. I don't mind that. See, half the crowd is like, no, everyone is like in that mode. If you want, I can do that. It will speed up my explanation. So that is what can happen. Either you write it down, I'll just go on explaining, and it's so easy and it's so like smooth when we are talking about it. So robotic sin means how does a robot behave as per the instruction. So a person who is like, when we are talking about this given possibility, with respect to what kind of intervention is caused, we all can see that uh, we can see that the person, when any instruction is given, the person refrains to respond in the fear of the performance appraisal being tarnished or affected by the politician. So a person, due to apprehension of the, we can say, the report getting tarnished, does not respond in the way the person ought to when we are talking about it. So yes, I also am giving this while explaining. So all right, fine. So all those who are able to understand it, thank you. Those who are unable to, listen to the session once again, write it for your own self, like la 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 la, and then you'll have a good handwriting in your own handwriting, because this is the best justice that I can do with respect to it. When I keep explaining, you're able to see the sub segments on the board, and I'm explaining it. You all can handle it. So that's probably what I can help you with. You can listen to the session and revisit it in that situation. Can we give the example of Bhishma Pitama? Yes, you can give example of Bhishma Pitama from Mahabharata. His neutrality cost the war. So if I can act, but I do not act properly, is it negative neutrality? No, that is neutrality. Neutrality itself is treated here as a negative term. Means when you are, like, remaining indifferent in a situation where you should take a standpoint. So that is how it is being taken up. So, Vijay, I think some child has taken hold of your phone and random stuffs are getting typed. So, please take control of the situation if possible. So, okay, good. If you're writing along with me, Nirmala, great. You can always note down things in your own handwriting and that can help you. So that's amazing. Yes. So neutral of 1857 revolt point. Well, Abhishek, I mean, you see that in different estates, in different regions, in different princely states, revolt was there. But was it a pan-Indian level revolt whereby all the masses were participating? Do you think that if masses from all Indian states would have participated, the British would have sustained, or the British could have remained beyond 1857? No, when we speak of the given possibility. Yeah. So that is what I imply by 1857 when we are talking about it. So, okay, all right. That's really great, Labdi, when you are going ahead with this. Okay, okay. I'll continue with that. So I hope you are understanding this given scenario when we are talking about it. So with neutral bureaucracy, when we are talking about this given subsegment, you can understand that the concept of committed bureaucracy versus neutral bureaucracy, this debate emerged after independence itself. Okay. So, and it was especially after post independence, the unsatisfactory performance of the bureaucrats. So, this unsatisfactory performance of bureaucrats raised this concern that what nature of bureaucracy ought to exist. So, bureaucracy, please understand, it is a colonial legacy. So, a lot of mannerisms which were there during the colonial times, it got carried forward even after independence. If I quote Jawaharlal Nehru, so Jawaharlal Nehru had criticized bureaucracy. So Nehru criticized bureaucracy, okay, for their fossilized mental outlook. Fossilized mental outlook. So he said that they need to be progressive, they need to move ahead. That's why Nehru also said that stop seeing people, okay, as we can say, beneficiaries. Start seeing them as stakeholders. But like alas, we are yet to realize that reality. We can also see Indira Gandhi had said that bureaucracy is the biggest stumbling block in national development. So, why did she say so? That bureaucracy is the biggest stumbling block in national development because of, we can say, the incompetencies of bureaucracy, the burdensome and complex structure which tries to delay the work, and shaitan ek raat mein insan ban gaye, josh mein li hawa di. Yes, that's also there. So bureaucracy was not prepared for democracy pre-independence. Yeah, that is also there, but they were trained also differently. You need to understand that. Okay, they were not trained to be independent. Point of neutrality of masses and Vellore mutiny. No, in general, I'm talking about pan-Indian scale, not a specific region. Vivek. Okay, when we think of the pan-Indian possibility. So. All right. Vanchika, when we speak of Draupadi's Chirharan, you'll be surprised to know that it is the version of Mahabharata which was presented by B.R. Chopra when everyone, the India was watching the TV series. But if you see the Bhandarkar school of thought which is associated with Mahabharata, which consolidates more than 200 versions of it, so it also indicates that the Chirharan, it is not like indicated in the Veda Vyasa version of Mahabharata, interestingly. Okay, it is associated with the colloquial or the regional versions of Mahabharata. So there are differences in interpretations pertaining to which incident took place and which did not. So the regional or local versions of Mahabharata also incorporated some insights or some details or some mannerisms of how Mahabharata must have occurred. So because you can understand, that's why it's called mythology, because you cannot authenticate which version is the correct version, and there are so many versions pertaining to the folklores, the oral traditions, and the written traditions pertaining to regional vernacular languages. Okay, that might come as a surprise because you might not be aware of that given possibility. Fossilized mental outlook, Harsh, because the pre-independence approach of, we can say, um, the pre independence version of bureaucracy is very different from the post independence expectation that was there from bureaucracy, but we were unable to fulfill it. Okay, dichotomy, when we can consider there is a duality in the possibility of something to exist, when there is a binary possibility for something to exist. So like two things when staying there, but they have separate identity, different identity. That's what it implies. Justice Khanna showed non-partisan behavior in administration in Jabalpur case, and he never became CJI. So it was the price he paid for being non-partisan. Say different judges, even the present judge is quite, I would say, the present CJI is also Justice Chandrachud. He's also quite a man, I must say. I mean, his capability to take a non-partisan standpoint, capability to, like, raise a situation whereby balance of power is triggered along with separation of power. That's something which we all need to, like, understand. And yes, Vanshika, also to substantiate, one of your friends Labdi is also sharing that according to Jainism, Mahabharata has a different interpretation when you read the Jain version. So that's also there. Yeah, even I appreciate majority of the times what Justice Chandrachud says or the standpoints he takes. Majority, I'm saying, not all, but majority. Yeah, he is an upright man, and he takes care of many situations the way they ought to be. So I'm unable to understand. You can prepare notes, PPTs. Uh, Suma, what you can do is you can listen to the sessions and you can just, note it down, because the PPTs have been prepared. There are 142 slides which I aspire to use, and you have not seen. I mean, maybe you were not present in the previous sessions, but you have not seen. There have been a lot of images, a lot of diagrams, a lot of text that has been written in the PPT. I'm barely writing like 4 or 5 slides, and you are getting tired instead of me. I am writing since morning. Okay, and you are getting tired because if you are unable to understand, I mean, like, you can just zoom it. Nehru doesn't look like Gandhi here. Criticized doesn't look like appreciated here. B looks like B only for their fossilized mental outlook. You don't know what kind of tormenting torture we undergo when we are reading your handwriting. I mean, you students' handwriting. It can be really harassing. So what I'll do, I'm again saying, so if third time I get this thing from any student that ma'am, the handwriting issue, I'll stop writing, I'll start explaining, I'll explain thrice, listen to the video 3 times, and that will be like worthy of undergoing the rigor. Okay, I'm not going to, because in the like PPTs, what do? I just get the keywords typed most of the times, and this is the last bit of the chapter which we are discussing. So can't you bear with it? Can't you bear with just like maybe a slide or two? Like, focus on reading and understanding. That's what I know. My handwriting is not beautiful, but it is readable. This is what I'm saying. Okay. And now I remember my father, who used to, as a child, he used to like literally push. He has beautiful handwriting and he used to push my brother and me that you people have such painful handwriting. God knows from where you have inherited it. So we used to like giggle, sometimes get scolded, sometimes giggle. We also had a handwriting copy. Somehow my handwriting still became okay. My brother likes, like, what to say, mosquito shit, but he's an officer and it can work in his case. In my case, being a teacher, a student, like few students who have super good handwriting, they'll be like, huh, this is some other version of handwriting which I am seeing. But I believe you can understand that. Okay, you understand, Grishma, fossil? What is fossil? Probably this third time I'm seeing that what is fossil or fossilized. So fossil, you understand? You must have heard of it. Dinosaur, fossil. Yeah. So if you can understand fossil, you can just connect it with pre-independence version of bureaucracy. It continued post-independence. So that is how it becomes, like, fossil. Okay. The post-independence, we all can see, like, the fossilized version. So fossilized mental outlook. Again, one more thing, The three students who had an no, 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 my handwriting is just fine, it's okay, I don't want appreciation also, I know where I'm standing. What I am requesting to those students, those 3 4 students who have an issue like that, oh, the handwriting could be better, to them I'm saying, try to put a stopwatch and try to write something around, like, let us say, because you have to write, right? So try to write something around like 1,000 words within a time period of, like, let's say 45 minutes. Try to write that much. Okay, and see your handwriting. You'll realize what I imply to say. Because in the exam, you're supposed to write 4,000 words within 3 hours. So you need to have a speed. It is okay to say that have beautiful handwriting and cursive handwriting when you are going slow and easy. Okay, when you are going very easy with the words, with the terms. But when you are going at a speed, when you are explaining the concepts, building the dimensions, working on the perspectives, then in that situation, few alphabets may go a little haywire. You have the independence. Okay, you have the independence to request that, ma'am, what is this term, please explain, I'll just correct it if it is looking little twisted, but I know my handwriting is legible. If you zoom it, it is legible. The only issue is it's not beautiful. I own that up, it's not beautiful, but it's legible. All right. So that's what I'm requesting. Those 2 3 students who still have that, please try writing a full mains test. Okay, 4,000 words. First, you won't be able to deliver so many words. When you have to write a lot, no, then the handwriting is not as you write projects. Projects, we are really good. I mean, if I'll show you, like, for example, if I'm going slow, idea of committed bureaucracy. See, this is my original handwriting. But can I write with this space? Can I complete the session? So please understand. Let us, like, make a negotiation somewhere in between. All right. Now, anyway, so with respect to this, when we are talking about idea of, like, committed bureaucracy, so what is committed bureaucracy? So, like, when we are speaking of this, Indira Gandhi said that, Mrs. Gandhi, she spoke of this, that we need committed bureaucracy rather than neutral bureaucracy. All right. We need committed bureaucracy rather than neutral bureaucracy. So also there's one more thing. No, there's little screen space. Even if this was big, I would have been able to at least write big and then cursive. In little space, choo choo choo. This is how I have to write. The pen is fat, so anyway, you are not supposed to understand and empathize with my cause. You are supposed to just raise issues and, like, get it addressed, and that's what we are supposed to be. So I'll try to find a solution for it. Now, with respect to this, when we are talking about it, so Indira Gandhi, she said that we need to be a committed bureaucracy rather than neutral bureaucracy. I'm writing this because some student will suddenly ask that, ma'am, what is NB? So for that child, this is neutral bureaucracy. All right. So, like, we can see that Jagjeevan Ram, the very next day that Mrs. Gandhi spoke in the parliament that we need committed bureaucracy, he explained what is committed bureaucracy. So he said that when we speak committed bureaucracy, the person is the bureaucrats are committed to the constitution. Okay, they are committed to the constitution. When we speak of bureaucracy, they are committed to, like, we can consider the objectives of the state. Objectives of the state. We can again connect it with the possibility of they are associated with, like, we can say, the rules and regulations. Rules and regulations. Okay. And we can also connect it that they are associated with the policies of the government. They are associated with the policies of the government. We can also see that a committed bureaucracy is the one who is responsive. So committed bureaucracy is responsive. Responsive. We can also consider that the committed bureaucracy will provide free and fearless advice. Free and fearless advice. Again, we can reflect upon the possibility of a politician So the politician, we can see that the politician can also be provided some insight for the governing philosophy. So we can consider that providing um, we can consider insights for the governing philosophy of the politician, right? We are also connected with the dimension associated with like providing the best possible advice. So committed bureaucracy is motivated to provide best possible advice. Okay, so that's something which all of you can connect with when you are discussing about committed bureaucracy, right? So, committed bureaucracy versus neutral bureaucracy, when we are reflecting upon the same, we can also consider there is politicized bureaucracy. So, politicized bureaucrats, and then we can see there are committed bureaucracy, and then there is neutral bureaucracy. So, committed bureaucracy is in between. It's like we can consider it is exercising Buddha's middle path, or it is like we can consider it is exercising Aristotle's golden mean. So, Aristotle's golden mean, right? So, that's something which you all can connect with. And you can also associate it with the like civil services activism, just like judicial activism, you can connect with it, whereby it is considered that a civil servant needs to be completely active, completely committed to maintain integrity and motivate others in the system to maintain integrity in his or her power. So here you can recall TN Session and his role in election reforms. Vinod Rai, despite a controversial tenure, you can remember that being a ex CAG official, he also had brought certain CAG activism during his times. Okay, so similarly, Ajit Doval, again, he also undergoes a lot of controversy, but he has also tried to bring in some kind of activism in his role. You can recall Kiran Bedi. Kiran Bedi also tried to bring in activism in her role, especially during prison reforms, if you can connect with that. Okay, so we can also connect this committed bureaucracy and neutral bureaucracy when we are talking about it. So, neutral bureaucracy is associated with, we can say, minimalist approach. Minimalist approach. And when we are speaking of like committed bureaucracy, we all can connect it with maximalist approach. Maximalist approach. Right. So minimalist and maximalist approach is what we can connect. So what is maximalist approach when we are talking about? It is associated with non maleficence, FECENCE. So, okay, non maleficence means not, sorry, ulta likhna tha. So this is maleficence. No, maleficence is opposite of beneficence. It's maximalist approach, so it has to be beneficence. So there has to be a beneficence approach that is associated with doing good. Doing good. And this is like minimalist approach is like not doing good. So in other words, I can say non beneficence approach or maleficence approach. Okay. So maleficence approach, or we can say not doing good. Not doing good. All right, so that's something which all of you can connect with. So you can see that during COVID a lot of people were able to perform accordingly, and there were situations when you can see that that was missing. Civil servants during COVID actually exercised a lot of civil services activism, and they brought a lot of change in terms of the way we can say the kind of impact that they could create. All right, so this is like minimalist approach is basically associated with maintenance function. Okay, this is associated with maintenance function, and this is associated with development function. Development function. So development function needs creativity. So that's how committed bureaucracy will need that. And you can understand that the second ARC has also recommended this. Okay. So second ARC recommends this. Recommends this. All right, so this is what all of us can understand when we are talking about it. So the concept of this committed bureaucracy, it is something which is a debate rising out of unsatisfactory bureaucratic performance post independence. So the traditional outlook of bureaucracy did not change despite independence, and despite the fact that a lot of politicians of your days, they kept hyphenating, they highlighted the civil servants that their approach needs to change, they still continued with their neutral approach. Neutral approach was not really helpful for we can say the long run, because it was not adding value, and the kind of creativity and out of box solutions that was needed for a country which was freshly independent, that kind of support, that kind of creativity was not coming from bureaucrats, because they were still stuck in the neutral approach rather than the committed bureaucracy, right? So with committed bureaucracy we can see that a bureaucrat can like align his or her objective with the objective of the state in terms of optimum performance and executing the policies at the best possible level. So when a bureaucrat is like, let's say, getting into the system, the person needs to realize that how the person is politically responsible, how the person is responsible for the possibility of how the governing policy is executed, what kind of ideals or values or ethos are followed in the society, what kind of professional advice they need to give to the politicians, how they need to like carry forward their social philosophy towards the larger masses. Okay, and all these sub segments, when it is covered together along with advising the politicians of the day meaningfully, that is something which ensures public welfare in all phases or all spheres of life. All right, that's what we can consider, and that is something which can encourage the possibility of committed bureaucracy. All right, so this is something which I would be also sharing, okay, with respect to, I hope you have gone through the material. If not, please go through the civil services foundational values for civil services material, the additional reading material that I had provided on Friday, that will also be fixing your basics. All right. So, should bureaucracy learn from corporate culture and commitment? No, I have already given the solution. What is committed bureaucracy and how one ought to perform? Okay, Abhinav, when we are speaking about it. So, like committed bureaucracy is associated with serving the maximum, being committed to the issue of serving to the max, being creative, trying to find out of box solutions, working with politicians hand in hand rather than staying aloof, or rather than getting intimidated in the name of appraisal. Okay, so that's what is politicized biased. Yes, politicized is the extreme version, just completely opposite to non-partisan. All right, besides serving the civil servant, can we, besides serving as civil servant, can we continue our studies? Yes, you can always like you can take a break and you can go abroad, and your entire education will be funded in all Ivy League colleges or best of the best universities across the world. Entire fee is paid by the government of India, and you can avail higher degrees and you can like benefit out of it. Can we say politicized bureaucracy involve partisanship? Well, Yes, we can consider that. There was internet restriction, maleficence, politicized bureaucracy is more negative even than politicized bureaucracy is the other extreme end of neutral bureaucracy. In neutral, you are becoming indifferent. In politicized, you are getting over involved with the politics of the day. Okay, so no, you don't have to write any other language, whether Hindi or like we can say Tamil or Maithili or Bhojpuri or like Avdhi or Rajasthani. None of the other languages have to be written other than English in the paper. If you are quoting any quotation from Sanskrit, see to it it's written in English font and the translation is provided. The examiner is not bound to understand any other language other than English if you have chosen the official language English to be written in the mains exam. Similarly, if some student, I say this to Hindi medium batches also, very rarely I go to teach them, but whensoever I do so, I just tell them that if you're choosing to write in Hindi, but in that situation, you have chosen to be a Hindi medium student, don't try to speak English. Okay, don't say that, ma'am, हमारे books नहीं मिले हैं. Don't say that. I mean, speak in Hindi flawlessly, and they struggle all the more. So that's also there. So, will government give salary if one studies abroad? Yes, exactly. No, not the salary. Your fees will be paid. Okay, and some basic stipend or something like that is there, but not a salary. And which type B earns maximum most? Type B means you want to say committed bureaucracy. Committed bureaucracy, we are not talking about earning. The focus is not on earning, it is all about outcome. The focus is on outcome. What if the question is asked in the PT instead of bureaucracy? Why don't you join the other service platform to serve this country? No, such random and vague questions are never asked. So you can be just rest assured about that. All right, so everyone is understanding this given component, right? All good. So please go through the material, the notes that has been provided with respect to, we can consider foundational values for civil services. Here, we all can move ahead with the next subsegment that is pertaining to how to solve a case study. So, with respect to how to solve a case study, we all can see first and foremost the World Development Report 2015, which speaks about mind, society, and behavior. That's the name of the report, which speaks about three important principles of decision making, the three core principles or most important principles which influence our possibility of decision making when we are getting into it. So what are those three principles as we are talking about it? First is thinking automatically. The moment you are like exposed to a situation, you are able to think effortlessly. You don't have to strain how to think like a bureaucrat. No, you think like a leader effortlessly. You be like a leader, think like a leader. That's one thing which we all can connect with. All right. Similarly, I'm like committed judiciary. No, committed bureaucracy is not a negative term. It's like Abhishek, I haven't narrated the entire Ramayana. You are asking who is Sita. So I like compared neutral bureaucracy and like committed bureaucracy for almost 20-25 minutes, and you're asking that like this given segment. So it's not like possible, no, that committed bureaucracy, you are saying that is it a negative term? Had it been a negative term, why would I have endorsed it as the middle path, connected it with Buddha's middle path or Aristotle's golden mean, and said that it is like the way bureaucrats should behave? Neutral bureaucracy was very old school approach, that was pre-independence approach, and politicized bureaucracy is the biased one. So in the world of judiciary, committed judiciary is the one which is associated with the biased phenomena. Don't mix terms and terminologies here to there, because it will malign your understanding. And also be present at all times while concepts are explained, because missing out on half an hour is too colossal, Abhishek. All right. So in which these types officers earn maximum most? Do you want to earn, Vivek? Are you going in the system to earn? I mean, do you want something more than the salary? Why this question for the second time? So, are you going to like, are you aspiring to earn something beyond your salary? Because if you're earning beyond your salary, you don't need to bother which type you want to follow. Okay. If a person is going into the drain, the person doesn't have to bother that what kind of pollutants are going to wash the person off. right? So if you are thinking about earning anything unethically, then why to bother that which category I will fall to? Whatever the category is, it is not something associated with committed bureaucracy. It's not even neutral for that matter. Okay, so no, it's not necessary at all times it is politicized. Maybe against the politician or the politics of the day also. A corrupt person belongs to no one. The way we say that a terrorist belongs to no religion, similarly, a corrupt person does not belong to any ideology. That's what. So, with respect to this, when we are like moving ahead, we also can see that thinking automatically, then thinking socially. When you are really motivated as a bureaucrat, subconsciously, anything that you think, you start thinking it from the larger perspective, how it is going to impact the society. Okay, how people are going to get affected, how the social networks and the norms are going to get affected. Again, thinking with mental models. You think with mental models because you have theories in your mind, solutions, tentative frameworks of solutions, and you have a tendency to recall those solutions which you have learned from the society, like in a situation of ethical dilemma, how to behave. If a poor person is begging, how to respond. Um, um, like, are you just giving, donating recklessly, or are you donating with pity, or are you donating with empathy and compassion? Are you identifying the intensity of vulnerability? What is it that is motivating? So there will be structures to think, models to think related to a situation, which will help you to interpret their experiences per se. Okay, again we can understand no one model of decision making is sufficient to arrive at decision. Means you can use, like, multiple models to arrive at a solution when you are indulging in every given, we can say, solution, right? So do bureaucrats need to behave neutrally in every situation? I just, Grishma, explained like the difference between neutral bureaucracy and committed bureaucracy. So I think you have the answer. I have already discouraged neutral bureaucracy as a pre independence expectation. Post independence, I've explained committed bureaucracy. So you should have been more attentive when I was giving you the explanation, right? So it is like it takes just a notch above. That's why it is important that you keep noting down. You people, Grishma, the moment you said, ma'am, handwriting, that very moment I worked on it. You can see that, right? Though it's still not in its best mode, but it is better probably than this one, and probably better than even this one. You can see that, right? So it's all about the moment you become alert and conscious. So this is what I can say. When I was explaining the difference between the two, you should have been alert. Please revisit the lecture, get an idea about it. I will not entertain this given possibility. Now, with respect to this World Development Report 2015, the moment we are talking about it, there are three sub segments associated with it. So I said, as a bureaucrat, when you are going into solving a case study, you should be able to think automatically. You should be thinking for the larger society, and you should have some tentative mental models to solve the problem. It's not necessary only one mental model can be used in one case study. You can use multiple mental models for a case study. So see, first thing, the disclaimer. There are no ideal answer, or there is no ideal format of the answer. However, when we are practicing, we can create a tentative framework. Okay, like for example, we can have pre-memorized list of common dilemmas. Okay, what are the list of common dilemmas, list of conflicts, what are the list of values? Okay, if we prepare a list, that will ease our process of preparation. If you go through the bullet notes, you'll find this. I'm not asking you to read, but at least you can flip, no? So if you flip the notes which I have given you, just the bullet notes, you will find a lot of content associated with this given possibility. If an old person come in front of an officer and begging something, what he she should mean, they should give them some money or made permanent solution for that. Well, let us explore that, Payal, because many such students can raise many such situation based questions. So let us first understand how to solve a case study and then arrive at solutions specific to a situation. right? Though you could have thought that if the person is vulnerable, you can always first and foremost delegate the situation to your junior associated with the specific department who is supposed to look into geriatric care or old age pension or old age home, and you can always follow up the case. So it's not necessary everything is done by a person's hand. You can always delegate and follow up, right? So, committed bureaucracy can also oppose the decision of the government if decision is averse to public interest without any fear or not. Yes, so very true, Jogender. Very good. That's what it is about. Okay, so apart from ethical principles, is it required to have command over the subject like polity, economy, geography? No, not really, because the questions that you get are not based on economy or geography or polity. The questions that you get, Kaushik, will be associated with different chapters of this subject itself, ethics itself. So sometimes it will be related to a combination of emotional intelligence and foundational values of civil services. Sometimes it will be like foundational values of civil services flipped as ethical dilemma, that you're stuck in a dilemma, which values will you uphold and how will you find the solution. So that's how it is generally played when we are talking about it. Again, we can see maintaining a logical flow in the answer, that's also there. It can also help at, like, at an argued solution in lesser time when you are following a logical flow. You can also recognize the merits and demerits of a given case while you are handling a dilemma, that if I choose the X situation, then what is the positive, what is the negative side of it? If I choose Y, what is the positive, what is the negative? Then if I choose Z, what is the positive, what is the negative? Amongst the three, which one is the best and why? That's how you have to like reflect upon the same. So what is a good structure? So this is a tentative structure which I'm proposing, though never forget this disclaimer: there is no ideal answer or answer format yet. A tentative framework which can be proposed, how you can first learn to solve a case study, is this is the tentative framework. So, general structure, when we speak of it, first you can see is facts of the case. Then you can see who are the stakeholders whose interest is at stake. So, the people whose interest is at stake. Again, ethical dilemmas before the decision maker. So, who is the person who is stuck with respect to the decision making process? Again, the possible courses of action, their merits and demerits when we speak of it. So possible courses of action, their merits and their demerits. Again, you can see the chosen course of action when we speak of it. So chosen course of action, whereby merits as well as it is addressing the demerits. So what you finally chose, okay, what is the merits and how the merits are surmounting the demerits. So why have you chosen? And in conclusion, this should always be there in majority of the answers. Remember, always in majority of the answers, which values you have upheld and why, what benefits you will be gaining from that specific value. What are ethical dilemmas, Shivaji? When you like, I have used this term multiple times earlier as well. This time, please understand it very clearly. Ethical dilemmas are when your values are not profoundly established inside you, when your values are not clearly established inside you. So the outside situation that has happened, it is keeping you in a confusion, what to do, what not to do. So ethically means on the lines of ethics, what is the right thing to do and what is the wrong thing to do. If a person's foundational values are not strong, if moral principles are not strong, the ethical dilemma will increase in intensity, and it will become a part of, we can say cognitive dissonance. Cognitive pertaining to brain, pertaining to understanding. So in your understanding, there'll be a duality, what is right, what is wrong. That's called cognitive dissonance. So a person will start suffering from cognitive dissonance. Okay. So if, like, let us say, if internal locus of control, and what is internal locus of control? Values, morals, okay, ethos, so ethics. If this is not profoundly established, okay, so if ILOC is weak, I have written this statement earlier also, If ILOC, internal locus of control, if your values are weak, suppose someone's parents are like corrupt officers. Suppose someone's uncle is a corrupt officer and he has a big bungalow, and this guy has a middle class household. He's like, imagine my uncle, just because he's an officer, he's having swanky cars. His son could buy a nice bike. His bungalow is so big. There are so many riches. The son wears all branded clothes. The daughter is going into an expensive college and all that. So the person is motivated. If I get selected as an officer, I will show them that I can earn even more. And then you'll raise questions like this in the class. Ma'am, in which of the conditions can we earn more? The space of earning is more. Okay. So such kind of questions rises when internal locus of control is weak. Okay. Why is it weak? Because the process when 20 years of, we can say, like building the moral values, building the ethical values, the sense of ethical concerns, what is right, what is wrong, when that has failed or it has not profoundly established, then internal locus of control grows weak. When internal locus of control grows weak, that leads to ethical dilemma, that what is the right thing to do and what is the wrong thing to do. This ethical dilemma, when it increases all the more, that leads to, if it increases, the dilemma increases, it will lead to cognitive dissonance. Try to find the meaning of all this. Okay. So cognitive dissonance, because I've explained the meaning. Anyone getting stuck, try to find the meaning. You can open dictionary and you can try to find. So that will lead to cognitive dissonance. And what will happen? ILOC will shift. Okay. It will transfer transfer to external locus of control. So such a person will be tempted to bribe, tempted to gifts, tempted to favor, tempted to, like, consider family first above nation, above society, larger interest of the people. So that's what. Okay. So a person whose internal locus of control is weak, such a person's, we can see, the person's weakness gets transferred into external locus of control. So, no, it's not like that, Devansh, that having a good hold on sociology paper or having a good hold on ethics paper or psychology paper alone can help you. You need a profound understanding of this paper only. That is ethics paper, not any other optional. Optional is not going to help. It is only going to support from the fringe. Certain things philosophy can help, but it cannot help you with psychological and social perspectives. The sociology can help you with social perspectives, but some in-depth philosophical reflections and psychological reflections may not be profound. Psychology can help you with psychological reflections, but not with the philosophical insights and perceptions. Right? Is it selfish to seek rewards? Yes, it is. Beyond what is assigned by the code of conduct and by the due process of service, seeking anything beyond that is unethical. Okay. You just have to do your job, and that is something which creates the possibility. Current affairs help us, Baldev, to understand what is going on in the scenario and how potential questions can be created. All right. So I hope all of you are understanding what is ethical dilemmas and how ethical dilemmas come into existence when their values are weak, morals are weak, ethics are weak. So in the absence of foundational values of civil servants, ethical dilemmas can emerge. All right. So that's what I hope all of you can connect with this given subsegment. So we can continue with this discussion tomorrow, and we can first understand what is case study. This will take almost half of the tomorrow's section, and after that, in the second half of the session, we'll start with the new chapter, that is attitude. Okay. So this is it for today. Good night, all of you. Take care. Uh, Practicing is the key, Anjali. Practicing is the key. Step by step by step, you will just catch up. No one starts in first day. Initially, we learn alphabets, and then we learn the words, and then we learn how to frame sentences. So just trust the process. Keep giving your best. All right. Thank you, all of you. Good night. Take care. let's continue with this case study. You can go through the PPTs. Okay, you can go through the PPTs in your private space. And those who have yet not covered foundational values for civil services, please read that. Go through the notes as well, the bullet points that have been provided related to these topics, which now we are unfolding. A lot has been given as keywords, which will encourage you to reflect. All right. So thank you. Good night.